Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shonen and Chill, episode number 14. I am here with, of course, Oceans.
Hi.
As always introducing you from now on to avoid the,
Yeah.
the wrath of the internet. Uh, Boy, we got a lot to talk about this week. So, in addition to the regular lineup of chapters,
hmm
uh, Shonen Jump also dropped Spy Family, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, Kaiju number 8, Boruto, and Dragon Ball Super, and technically Moriarty the Patriot. We're not going to talk about all of those because I know that there's some of those you do not read.
hmm
But we will be talking about some of them. And the chapters in the regular magazine that dropped also require a lot of talking. So this is going to
Uh-huh.
buckle up, audience. This is going to
Oh,
be a long one. And I don't know if you
that,
checked it out, but we also got the pilot chapter for the Elusive Samurai from the
that
creator of
and
Assassination Classroom.
I have a surprise for you.
Oh my god.
But we'll get to it.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into our top threes then. What was your top three chapters this week?
My top one was Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
My top two was My Hero Academia.
Okay.
And my number three was Phantom Seer.
Oh my god, people. We did it.
Yeah.
We
Yes, I
did
caught
it.
up to it.
Caught up to Phantom Seer. That is
Yes.
awesome. Excellent. We have plenty to talk about this week then, even more so now that we can talk about Phantom Seer.
Exactly. I chose a horrible week to do this.
So my number one this week was Jujutsu Kaisen by a wide margin. If I'm being
Ooh.
honest, it was crazy
Mhm.
good this week. I can
Mhm.
flash up that picture of the guy saying Jujutsu Kaisen was crazy good this week. My number two was Dr. Stone. This week was awesome, really cool. We're learning a lot more about the Medusas and all that kind of stuff. And then my number three was My Hero Academia.
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and do
Yeah.
Phantom Seer first because that was a number three, and we have never really talked about it on the show before.
Yeah, so I guess I just give my general thoughts on it first.
Yeah.
This is the first time I get to talk about it. Like I specifically avoided tweeting about it because I wanted it to be like live on here.
Surprise on the
Exactly.
excellent.
It's awesome. It's really cool. When Tokyo Shinobi Squad was canceled, I always felt that was such a waste because Kento Matsura has such an awesome art style, and he's such a fucking nerd for Shonen Jump. Like, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but all he does basically is draw really high quality fan art of like classic Shonen Jump characters and edit them as like Twitter profiles for other people to use. It's really cool.
I
He seems like
definitely need to start following him on Twitter.
Yeah, he seems like such a genuinely hyped guy for Shonen Jump. So I was looking forward to checking out Phantom Seer for that reason alone. I'd never heard about the writer because Matsura is obviously only the artist. I've never heard about the writer before, but now I have, and he's good. So I really think what stood out to me immediately was the fact that I was actually interested after the first couple of chapters, despite this being an exorcism manga, of which there are like about 70 that come out every year.
So many.
So many.
It's big
yeah.
in Jump right now, I feel like. More so than it has been in the past. I mean, you got Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Phantom Seer. There's a lot. I don't even think that's all the ones that I named that are running right now.
There was Bone Collector that was also about that.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to see so many more just because
Ghost
of Demon
Reaper
Slayer.
Girl, which is like a weird... You read it like Western style type thing. That's another one. Chainsaw Man.
Really? Yeah, but like I definitely think we're gonna see way more of that because of Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen's crazy success right now.
Probably.
Like, the copycats are going to come in. I mean, copycats sounds a bit dismissive. Like obviously that's what art is, someone does something, it gets big, and everyone's like, bet, let me see what I can do with this. Like,
right.
That's how it's always been.
Yeah. Not like Phantom Seer saw Jujutsu Kaisen and was like, I'm gonna do that. It's very much its own thing, but it's still the same kind of premise. Same with Demon Slayer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
seems like popular in Japanese culture in general to just have like demons and exorcists and whatnot.
It seems specifically popular when it is like demonic Japanese folklore, because obviously Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Phantom Seer all lean into that to a certain extent in like different depths and capabilities, obviously. But I think what really gets me with Demon Slayer, Phantom Seer, it's the S's, man. But what gets me with Phantom Seer is it is kind of just a regular story, but it's told in such a stylish way and with such like cool character dynamics that I just ended up really loving it. Like Iori is a piece of shit, but I love him.
I love Iori so much. He's
Yeah,
like the total inverse of your standard Shonen Jump. Like, I'm gonna be the greatest exorcist and save. He just is like, fuck this. I hate this. I don't want to
yeah,
be here.
yeah, and I really like that. I also like how, despite how, you know, unlikable he tries to be, he never actually becomes unlikable to me, the reader. Like throughout all of this, I was always like, okay, I want to see you do better because you seem like you have a good character underneath all that brattiness. So show me. And he
Yeah,
does
it's
show.
nice because he does feel like he genuinely doesn't want to do it, but it
Hmm.
also never actually impedes him from doing the right thing. He's never like he never needs to be coerced into it really. Like as soon as
Hmm.
he realizes it's the right thing to do, he always steps up, which I like a lot about him. Um,
Yeah.
I like pretty much everyone in the cast. There's no one I really don't like yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 20 chapters in, but the cast is pretty strong. Like, I can't say I know all their names by heart yet. But the beckoning hand girl,
I bet you, I believe
she's
her name is.
yeah, but so she's really sweet. I like her. I like that she's like she kind of tricks you into thinking she's going to be the typical Shonen Jump sweet girl, but she's very much just her own sarcastic person who just happens to also generally be a nice person besides that, which I think is a really nice like interplay where she is a bit of a subversion, but it's not ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
she's
it's
just
more
a
like kind of
person.
playing with it than outright trying to be like, I'm going to flip the stereotype on its head kind of thing. She's just sort of, she's there, but she doesn't ever get outlandish or crazy. I like
Yeah.
how like forward she is. Like,
Hmm.
how much what am I trying to say? She never like sits back and becomes sort of the damsel role. She very quickly is like, okay, I'm gonna learn this power. And then the first
Hmm.
time that she really is in a position to use it, she's participated in every fight in an
Hmm.
active way, which I like a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in general, I like how like the characters are distributed. It doesn't feel bloated. It doesn't feel like, someone's gonna be less important than they should be or more important than I'd want them to be. Like it just feels like a well constructed and well thought out series, and it's supported by Kento Matsura's fantastic art. And the fact that Iori's powers work with shadows in a series drawn by a man who loves to use like rough inking alongside really polished character artwork is just perfect.
Oh yeah,
Like
man, like the last page of chapter 5. I don't know if you have the app on like right on you right now, but oh my god, the last page of chapter 5 is so good. It's
basically anytime he summons his like shadow powers, it looks so good.
Yeah, I mean it's cool too because it's shown to you as it's some sort of like entity. It's like a shadow monster type deal, but he can utilize
Hmm.
it as an individual power on his own too, without like fully
Hmm.
bringing it out, and it's just so stylized and cool looking.
Hmm.
Ah man,
Yeah, and I think what makes it so cool, like specifically, is the fact that you have the powers that are very stylized, but the rest of the characters and the environments still look incredibly clean. And so it gives it that otherworldly look that I really appreciate. Let me check out that page you're talking about. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the one where he shatters the
where he's
mirror.
shattering the mirror. Yep,
Oh my god, that's so good.
you've got like
Like,
the wispy, almost liquidy looking shadow flying out, while the hard
hmm.
shards of the mirror are everywhere. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, so good. Like, I'm guessing he's going to get a lot of mileage out of that when it comes to like paneling and page flow, because it's kind of like it's kind of like Dragon Ball's key trajectories all over again. Because obviously the shadow itself also has trajectories and shit. It's
Hmm.
just awesome looking, and also like the content itself. Like I'm a big sucker for series that deal with regrets and the afterlife to a certain extent, and the idea of being cursed, of being burdened. That's also something that I really love about Jujutsu Kaisen, and this is very much like going to that direction while taking a more ooh, I don't know, a more grotesque look at it than maybe Jujutsu does most of the time, because Jujutsu is like, it's harrowing, but it doesn't linger on it very much. it moves forward because it is fundamentally a battle shonen. Whereas this one does tend to take a bit more of its time to just show you, hey, look, shit's really awful. Here have this horrible monster that's doing horrible things, and there's of course the fox girl and her whole situation that is kind of nightmarish, but
Oh man, the page where he like fully transforms her is horrible. Like
I mean, she
not
does.
horrible in a bad way, horrible and like good God, that's drawn.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, she does kind of come back. I mean, that happens this chapter actually, right? Or last chapter.
It was this one, yeah, where they
Okay.
kind of recover
Yeah,
her. Yeah.
yeah. Which, I'm okay with that. I didn't need to see her suffer more. She's cute. Like, that's okay with
I was
me.
almost hoping she would retain a little bit of her basic powers that she had before she went monster mode and she would join the
Hmm.
team, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but that's okay.
Hmm.
Because the team
Yeah.
is also good as it is right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like with the way the world is built, with the shaman organizations that seem to cooperate, um, I think it's a perfect setup for future arcs where you have new characters coming in and kind of rotating in and out without, ever becoming so relevant that you would think they'd need more depth. They'll just be, hey, I'm from this organization. I'm going to help you with this specific arc. Bye. See you in like a later climax arc, maybe. Like, I'm fine with that. I think,
Hmm.
you know, you can have these sort of rotating casts. It keeps things fresh and it keeps you from bloating your cast too much. Because obviously, if anyone quote unquote joins the team properly, you're going to assume that they're going to have some sort of relevance going forward, some like consistent relevance, which you can do. But if you bloat your main cast too much, you start having problems. So
Hmm.
I feel like the whole like shaman system is a good way to work around it. I hope the author uses that. Like obviously we're still very much in the infancy state of the series.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 20 chapters, impossible to tell what the end, like the formula is going to end up being, but they are already utilizing that to some extent. I mean,
Hmm.
you've got Kurose, who, granted, he's been on a few of them now, so he may
Hmm.
stick with them on a more regular basis. I don't know. But then, you had the guy with the Tengu who helped out for a little bit. He did not help out this time. You have that
Hmm.
another new character that just kind of showed up to give them some information. Certainly
Hmm.
doesn't look like it's going to be a team member or anything like that.
Hmm.
So I could see it going that way.
Yeah, and I mean after today's chapter, I could see it also like actually committing to a sort of longer form narrative. Because like up until this point, it was very much monster of the week. But now that we have a Senju as the big bad, and we also have now after this chapter this like organization seemingly of enemy shamans
Hmm.
or
Which all
phantom
have pretty
users.
cool character designs. They all feel pretty
Yes.
unique, but they all look very cool. You get the
Mm-hmm.
girl in the very like prim and proper dress. She's even got the little veil thing on her head. Then you got like the
Mm-hmm.
punk looking dude who's just in loose clothing and whatever this
Mm-hmm.
tiny demon baby looking thing is. I don't love the tiny
Yeah.
demon baby thing, but that's just because he's creepy, not because his design is terrible.
Yeah, well, the first thing I thought when I saw the main speaking guy, I was like, ah, that's the fuck boy. That's the one everyone's gonna make fan art of
Probably.
because he has, double colored hair and an undercut,
Yeah, he's got
and
the
he wants to,
undercut. He's got the blonde with the so it's dyed blonde probably with the dark hair on the
yeah,
bottom. He's got
definitely uses
Dobby's outfit.
TikTok. Yeah, they're gonna get assailed by the TikTok generation.
Oh, undoubtedly. If it catches on that big, that's gonna be the guy. Maybe blissfully he'll get killed soon, so there's not enough time for it to happen.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm really happy I checked out Phantom Seer. As I said, it crept into my top three this week. Although, admittedly, I might be biased because I have like the entire series present right now because I literally read it most of it today. So, like, it might it might change a bit, but for now, I really enjoyed what I experienced thus far. Like,
Yeah, it was very, and I
good,
don't think
good
it's
series and solid chapter.
unreasonable for this chapter to be in a top three. It was a great, like, this is the first real arc where it's felt like there was more going on than just like, oh, there's a monster here eating beckoning hands. Let's kill it. This time
Mm-hmm.
there's like a whole thing on it. They saved the girl. It was a nice little wrap up to the not like a climax arc, but definitely like the beginning of something bigger. It's good. It's
Mm-hmm.
good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right.
Do we want to move on then?
Yeah, let's swing into. Do you want to talk about before we really start getting into the ones that are gonna bog us down for a while? Do you want to talk about Mashle and or Undead Unluck before we move on?
Sure. In that order, maybe. Let's go with
Okay.
Mashle.
So
Uh,
I liked Mashle this week. Um,
mm-hmm.
I kind of like these little down to earth chapters in Mashle after some big stuff happens. The end of the fight was a little anticlimactic. That
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of ended and nothing really
Yeah.
happened except he got like a cut.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see that guy again at some point. But it looks like we're starting our tournament arc, basically.
Yeah, it looks like it, and it makes me believe that what we, because the thing is, when we saw the guy develop his third line and use his bankai, basically, we thought like, oh, this is like a big climax fight. But I'm thinking now, this was like the tease. This
Hmm.
is like when in the sports festival you see Shoto use his ice for the very first time, and it's literally just one and done. It's like, okay, it's building towards whatever confrontations we're gonna see in the tournament arc, which I'm
Also,
digging.
the third line goes away.
Yes, which is
So that
interesting.
kind of leaves it to where you can't just look at a character and know if they're going to be a threat or not. There's
Mhm.
definitely going to be third line reveals in the future that, if used well, are going to be insanely hype.
Nash just like lifts his shirt. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've had these like 5 lines on my body since I was a kid. I don't know what these are." It's like he's been using muscle magic all along, which is reserved to the 5 liners. No, he actually has 6 lines, and each one gives him a different magic power.
It's just one ab. Each of his abs is a magic line.
6 aber. But yeah, like I'm hype. I'm really excited for what we're getting into with Mashle now, and I agree. This chapter, I don't know. For some reason, like I couldn't write you even 3 sentences about most of these characters, but I'm still really happy to just see them chill and like talk about themselves and hang out. Like Mashle is just so full of like character and heart, even though depth is maybe the wrong word, but with Mash specifically when he's having his talk with his um grandfather guy, it's like, oh, that's a sweet moment. I like this. I'm invested. And I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
just
really
kind of
cool.
likable characters doing things, and I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Like every week I'll just sit there and read Mashal and I'll be like, huh, I had fun. And I think that's good.
Yeah, there's never a chapter. We've said this before, but there's never a chapter of Mashle, maybe except maybe the Bankai chapter, where I was like, "Oh my god, this is so crazy, like unbelievable." But I've never had a bad time with it. Even series that I
Mhm.
like a lot, like Undead Unluck, there are some chapters where I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
moving on." It's never happened
Yeah.
in Mashle, so good stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of Undead Unluck, do you have anything to say about that this week?
Um, it was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I think that they're leaning kind of hard into this mangaka's backstory. I think the initial reveal of it was pretty neat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then the more and more that you lean on it, I'm like, okay, this is. I don't like this character that much. We just met her. I don't think she needs 5 chapters to explain who she is
Mm-hmm.
and her whole
Yeah,
plan and all this stuff. And although it seems
yeah,
like they're done
that
with her, is it a boy or a girl?
I have no clue.
I think it's a
I
guy.
genuinely could be. I've not really paid attention to that, and I think that's my main problem with like the last couple of chapters. I am like not very confident I got what was going on, just because there were so many like twists and turns to what is real, what is predicted, what is the past, what is now, and like it's not. I don't think it's complicated. It's just presented in a way where I kind of just my eyes just kind of glazed over, and I was like, do I really want to try and figure this out? Nah. Let me let me move on to Jujutsu Kaisen or something.
Yeah, I just never like. I don't know. Like you said, it's not that incredibly complex, but it's just like I'm not invested enough to take the time to go back and reread it again to make sure that I'm fully following what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of seems like that's over now, thank God. So maybe we
Hmm.
can get back to a more structured story that's a little bit less crazy. Um,
Yeah. I'm hoping we do that too. Like I'm hoping we get out of the like fake reality, past reality, possible reality stuff, and we get into like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is like who we're fighting. This is why we're fighting them. You know, just I'd appreciate it if things became a bit more straightforward again,
yeah,
because
I can agree with
they
that.
got yeah they got again they got kind of confusing, and I don't really get if I'm not confident that the confusion I'm feeling has any like actual payoff in the like you know betterment of the
Yeah, I think
material.
that's a good explanation of it. I'm not convinced that if I were to go back and read it again, I would be
Hmm.
impressed. I kind of just feel like if I would read it again, I'd be like, oh, okay. And that would be it. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
it's bad, but I just feel like it's maybe too much to, I don't know.
Hmm.
I just, this isn't a flaw of the series, but I think I'm just not invested enough to go back and check it out again and put it all together and stuff like I would be if it were something like Jujutsu Kaisen or My Hero or something like that.
Hmm.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it do be what it do be like.
Indeed.
But okay, so is there any other like small time stuff we want to discuss before we get into
Do you want to talk about the Elusive Samurai?
uh I don't really have much to say about it. Like it's an interesting setup for sure. I do not remember anyone's names.
I do not
Um
either. It doesn't help that it's based in like real world classic Japan, like old
yeah.
time, so everyone's names are extremely long.
Yes.
And like,
Uh
the longer you make someone's name, and when and it's a pilot chapter, so it's like 60 pages.
mhm.
But I do like the premise that like he's the hero because he runs away, he doesn't want to fight, and he doesn't want to die.
Mhm.
Um, I like that as a premise. It's a lot like I kind of when this started out, it looked like it was going to be, uh-oh, his whole family's going to die and he's going to have to go become the ultimate sword warrior.
Mhm.
Doesn't look like it's going that way, which I like. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more creative, and I guess I probably should have given it more credit because it is the guy who wrote Assassination Classroom, which I like a lot.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I guess I'm also jaded because Samurai 8 and Build King happened, and
Mhm.
so I'm also concerned. But it was a neat little premise. It was a neat beginning. I like some of the characters. I like the crazy
Mhm.
priest who's always glowing with holy light. That's
Mhm.
funny to me. Um,
Mhm.
but it wasn't incredibly standout in the beginning as something like Assassination Classroom was because it was just so funky and unique and different. And this is just sort of hey, your family's dead. Let's get your kingdom back. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It felt very weirdly paced. Like obviously you had a sort of narrator person, and the way they were telling the story, there were these weird like jumps in action where I was like, okay, what? Like that's odd. Like when it goes from, they're just kind of chilling to his family has been killed by the super strong sword dude. I'm like, okay, you could have given me like a bit more or like at least a transition or something. But okay, we're doing this, I guess. Also,
Yeah,
I
I think
found it.
they're trying to lean kind of hard into like the sword guy used to be nice and he was his buddy and now he's not. But like I don't think that really does anything for it. I think you could have just literally said, "Oh, this is the strongest sword guy. He is my dad's strong soldier, but
Yeah.
I'm the kid." And then the strong soldier turns on the dad. There's no more emotional investment from me, at least, that the sword guy used to be kind of nice to him that one time.
Yeah, exactly. And I also found, I mean, that's something that Assassination Classroom also did, and it worked there. So I'm not going to judge this yet. But it really shows you some pretty horrible things right next to some very dumb gags. Like it's like, oh yeah, his
Yes.
family got killed and destroyed, and the women were violated. But also, haha, funny priest guy. And I'm like, okay, that's certainly something to do. And it's like, in
Yeah.
Assassination Classroom, it was kind of similar, where very dire and dark ideas were floated around right next to this octopus alien.
See, I
So
think
I'll
the
see.
the craziness of, Koro Sensei and stuff kind of helped do that though. Like
Hmm.
this guy is really just a guy who makes kind of funky faces. And like he's a
Yeah,
gag
that's true.
character, but he doesn't like looking at him does not automatically like lighten a scene. Like the existence of Koro Sensei as a character kind of lifted tension from any scene that he was in, because one, he look at him, he's fucking ridiculous,
Hmm.
and two, like he was a good-hearted dude and just genuinely wanted to help them, and was also so
Hmm.
strong that nothing could really press him until the end. This guy doesn't really
Hmm.
give that vibe off. He's just kind of a creepy weirdo. He's funny,
Hmm.
but I don't know that it was the best scene to have him right after looking at the guy's dad kill himself right after everyone got like murdered and violated, and the guy is standing on top of a body of like burning corpses. Maybe
Hmm.
not the best transition to just like silly priestman.
Yeah, it kind of feels like first chapter syndrome in a way. Like just trying to check all the boxes of every possible like intro emotion, right? Like you gotta shock the audience, you gotta make them laugh, you gotta give them memorable, simple character traits, and it feels like it's trying to do all of that at once, and it's not coalescing super well. But again, I feel like in the first chapter it's kind of excusable because God, the industry is cutthroat. So like,
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah, so do what you gotta do. Just don't do it like Undead Unluck, and I'm happy.
Yes. Yes, that's fair.
Like that's where the bar is.
Yes. For the love of God, yes. Um, okay, so now the question is, do we go ahead and say that we don't like Vigilantes, Boruto, and Super right now, or do we do it at the end of the episode
Well, you already said it, so you might as well go through them, and then we can save the end of the episode for
for things that
the
are actually
happy
good?
thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All
we can
right,
end on a positive
I
note.
guess we'll do Vigilantes first. It was bad, but fine.
What was the point of the flashback?
I don't know.
It's
So
so weird.
yeah, are we supposed to know who that guy who took the mask off is?
Uh, Wait, which guy are you even talking
The
about?
guy
I'm
who
complete.
was like helping them because he was just likes to fight and he's wearing the wrestler mask.
That's Rappa.
Yeah,
Do you know
but
who? Yeah,
like it was his face supposed to matter to me?
I suppose it was supposed to matter in the sense of, oh, we've never seen his face before. I
Yeah,
don't
no, I
think
mean
there was
I know
anything
who
deeper
he
than that.
is in the this arc, but like
Oh, you don't? No, he's from the main series. He's the underling of Overhaul who
is he the
almost
guy that
kills Kirishima.
fights Kirishima? Okay, he's
Yeah,
so
that's him.
generic. I forgot all about him already.
To be fair, they do call him by a different name. In the main manga, he's called Rappa, and here his stage name is Rapper. So,
Okay.
I
Um,
guess, but okay, no, I didn't realize that you hadn't made that connection.
no, I
But
genuinely hadn't because I don't even remember half of the Overhaul arc. I'm not gonna lie to you. I remember everything from when Mirio starts fighting Overhaul and onward.
before Mirio starts whooping ass in your brain, it was just like static.
Yeah, pretty much. I know that Rocklock is a character. That's about it. It's just like white noise, the arc until the actual like climax starts.
Aw,
Um,
that, that's a shame. I like the overall arc,
I
but
like bits and pieces of it. I think that the big like empty portion comes like I love the beginning where Deku and Mirio are like dealing with the guilt of not protecting that little girl when they probably could have.
uh-huh.
And then it's
Hmm.
like white noise of Night Eye, like I am scheming, and then it comes back in when they get inside the base.
That's fair. That's fair. I do think Overhaul, as an arc, really was the first one to show Hori's big weaknesses, which is just structuring long stories in one go, which, arguably came back with the war arc, but we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
Um,
no, what gets me about this Vig's chapter is just what was the point of the flashback? Like, I don't
was the point of the
feel
flashback just to show Mirko as a
I
kid because
get
people like her?
I guess because it's like there is I guess because you have the police guy going, oh, the incidents that have been happening right now in Naruhata. are similar to that masquerade incident a couple of years ago. But like, was that what we got the flashback? Did we need all of that? Like, I I don't know. Unless like something else comes back, unless Hood comes back in the main continuity of Vigilantes, which like okay, we know he nothing can happen to him because he has to appear to fight Endeavor in the main story. Uh, is All for One gonna come back or make an appearance in like the main timeline? It's like, okay, what can he do? He's literally stuck to about 70 tubes at the time where Vigilantes is happening. It's like, what? Why did we spend like 3 months in this
Yeah, I
in
think
this
the
flashback
favorite, like
arc?
my favorite part of this chapter, which is funny as shit, is when Mirko takes her mask off and she starts to leave, and like there's sunlight behind her. I was like,
Uh-huh.
we know who that is. It's not like an exciting moment. It's like he intentionally drew it that like, oh, it's bright and she's putting her bunny ears on, but it's like, I I know who she is.
Oh, like it just dawned on me. We have this is the first or next week or next time Vigilantes comes back. It'll be the first Shonen and Chill episode where we talk about Vigilantes, where Vigilantes will not be in the flashback arc. Like
Uh
that's
huh.
how long shit has taken, and it's like, well, why? Like if because it seems like now that Six is back, it seems like we're heading into like a big climax. Like people have been saying the Vigilantes is going to end for a while now. And I'm assuming this time it's the case because, like, what else are you going to do? Since we know this is like the last year that the crawler was active or the last
Right.
season. So why show us this flashback? Why not just go into the final arc already?
Yeah. Why the fuck did? Because this whole flashback was like the the guy with his quirk in the past, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And who obviously doesn't have it now, but like he's also not even really in the story anymore. And
Hmm.
we're not seeing how he lost his quirk. So what the fuck was it for?
It's
It
so
didn't do
bizarre.
anything.
It's so bizarre. It feels like the Aizawa flashback, but even more pointless. Like the Aizawa flashback was pointless because it belonged into the main series, not in the Vigilantes. This flashback arc is pointless because it doesn't fit
It
into
doesn't
where it
belong
was
anywhere.
shown. Yeah, it's like no one cares. Like, I mean, I'm sure someone cares. I'm
Someone out
sure.
there fucking I guarantee you there are people out there who think Vigilantes is like the best shit.
Yeah, and I mean, they're free to think that. I just think, how? Like, I just don't see it, especially this arc. It's like, it was literally just here are a couple of characters you like doing some shit that doesn't matter, but you sure like seeing them do shit, don't you? And it's like, I guess, but Mirko was cool in the main series already. I didn't need to see her do the same stuff in a school uniform.
Yeah, I really like her kicking and being crazy, but in a sailor suit is not any different than what she already did before.
Yeah, and I think Rappa is really funny because he has appeared both in the main series and the spin-off, but his quirk has still not gotten an in-universe explanation. We only know
Yeah.
what his quirk is based on volume extras, which I think is super funny. Is like you make this character appear in the spin-off to give him more space in the story or whatnot, but then you don't explain his power. It's like, okay, guess anyone who doesn't read the volume extras just won't know the riveting secret of his powers. Which, by the way, is literally just his shoulders can rotate really fast,
That's
and that's why he can
exciting
punch so
stuff.
good. Yeah, stroke of genius for sure.
All right, let's jump into speaking of genius. Let's talk
Uh-huh.
about Boruto.
Um,
Ah, God, it's so bad. Has it gotten worse since Kishimoto came back?
I don't know. All I can say is they're about to kill off my childhood hero, and I feel nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
they literally teased that like Naruto might die right now, and I was like, okay.
mhm. Yeah, like because we know he's gonna die or something's gonna happen to him because that's how Boruto starts. But yeah, I was just reading it and I was like, man, this character has like got me through my formative years and was one of the most important fictional characters in my life. And here he's dying, and somehow this shit show of a series has managed to not make me care, like suck out any bit of care I had for Naruto. And I feel like that's as biting and as complete of a judgment I can put on Boruto as possible. Like you you made me lose my care for a character I followed for a decade. Like, good job, Boruto. You really outdid yourself this time.
Yeah, I
And
don't think I
like,
could put it any better than that. I mean, it's so dumb. This whole chapter was dumb. Everything's shitty all the time, and I hate it. And that's it. Like we
that's
say
it.
this
Yeah,
every
that's
time we
all.
talk about Boruto, so we don't even need to go down the same rabbit hole of like, oh, did you know it's really bad? Because yeah, we know.
Yeah, exactly. Like the audience is probably sick of hearing it.
Yeah,
But spoiler, you're probably going to hear at least a quick bit of it every time a chapter drops.
yeah. I
Just
mean,
because,
we read it every time, and boy, does it
yeah,
still suck every time.
I mean, we are giving it a chance every time, and Boruto is using that chance every time to disappoint us every time, despite our expectations being really low
The
already.
fucking panel where Boruto just says resist or not It's Momoshiki possessing Boruto, and he
Yeah.
says resistance is futile. Prepare to get eaten. It's the stupidest. Like, who wrote that? Did Kishimoto write that?
Apparent. I mean, he's the writer now.
Oh, it's so bad.
Kishimoto came back from his Hawaii vacation, rubbing his hands like, "Ooh, they're gonna love this
They're
one."
gonna love this one. Prepare to get eaten. Fucking. Oh my god. I'm not, again, this
Uh,
isn't like high literature or anything, but for the love of God.
like, I allow myself a couple of cringes per shonen manga chapter because I mean it's a kids comic, like, and I'm an adult. I'm gonna cringe a little bit. That's just how it is. But the problem is that I like pre-cringe before I even start a Boruto chapter, so it loses that benefit.
Right, because you already know. Yeah.
And because when it has like colored pages or whatnot, that already uses up all my will to live. Because
If
God,
Boruto
those are some
just looked good, I feel like I wouldn't be so harsh on it.
If Boruto just looked like Kishimoto's worst artwork, it would still be such a major improvement.
Yeah, like,
Like,
it's so ugly. Every character is
yeah,
ugly in this.
yeah, like late Kishimoto often gets criticized, but I would rather have this drawn in the style of the war arc than I would have it drawn like this.
Oh,
Like, Jesus
easily.
Christ.
It's not even close. It's not even a
Yeah,
comparison.
yeah. Oh my God. Like, again, this is something we've mentioned before, but I fucking hate Ikimoto's pseudo-realistic art style that just looks uncanny on anything.
Yeah, it doesn't look good on anyone. Everyone is like flat faced, and like every panel where they try to emote looks weird, and it's just I don't
They
like it,
all
man.
look they all look like they have a body drawn by Kishimoto, but a face drawn by Araki, and it just does not fit.
You're right, they do. And God, it doesn't work at all.
Boruto characters look as happy about being in their series as we are about reading it. Like that's my lunchbox quote.
That's yeah, no, I mean you're not wrong. God, and it's weird because like I love Kishimoto's art. That shit's beautiful.
Hmm.
And he's
Hmm.
just like, I don't want to draw shit anymore. Don't ever ask me to draw again. I want to be a serious writer for this garbage, and my writing
Uh-huh.
sucks. So like I don't understand. Why are
It's
you demanding
so
to only do the thing you can't do, but you're refusing to do the thing you're incredibly talented at?
well, I mean, the more stories resurface about like the editing process that Naruto went through, you kind of start to realize that Kishimoto really is only a good writer when he has about 12 people who tell him no, that's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of horror stories about early Naruto, like how Sasuke didn't even exist and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, God,
How everyone was supposed to be animals, how
the goggle
Jiraiya's
thing.
power Jiraiya's power would have been farting related. It's like, ugh, bro.
Yeah, and like I just don't love his writing. I don't know how else to say it. I don't. Every time I've read something like written by Kishimoto, I'm like, okay, there's some really good stuff in the beginning, like the Land of the Waves and Sasuke Retrieval and all that stuff. But then it's like, I feel like as Naruto went on, it's almost the George Lucas conundrum of like, when you don't have any pull and people are like this, they'll tell you that what you're doing sucks and they'll make you fix it. And something made by a lot of people is usually better than something made by just one guy. No matter how much it's like his vision shines through, generally, and not always, but generally, the editorial process is a good one that contributes to the end result of the work. And I think you can almost see it. Like, the more and more famous that Kishimoto gets, the worse and worse his shit becomes comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And I mean, at this point, we're just traveling down the same old road we've been harping on for ages.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at that. Boruto sucks.
Yeah.
If you like it, sorry.
My condolences.
Yeah, I apologize for your struggles that you go through every month. So let's pivot into the last same goddamn sentiment. Dragon Ball Super.
The final brother of the struggle trio.
Yeah, of the struggling old people trio. The
struggle 3.
Yeah. So this is the one I liked the most of the 3 monthly struggle chapters. Super is like, I enjoy that it's still kind of giving off a bit of a Star Wars vibe. There's like a space battle in spaceships, which is like, that doesn't happen in Dragon Ball. Like, what are you doing? That was cool. I like the potential that Bardock got a little cameo. That's kind of cool. There's like a bounty hunter thing going on with these like criminals in this castle and stuff, and that's super Star Warsy. Then we cut to like Goku and Whis doing shit, and I'm like, I don't fucking care. Ultra Instinct has lost any sense of like uniqueness to it. It's just Super Saiyan White. And it's been like that for a while, but it keeps getting worse and worse about it. Like, Goku and Whis are fighting, and they're kind of fighting a little bit, and then Whis just like talks to him and punches him. And I was like, but he's an Ultra Instinct. He's supposed to not get punched. And then they're just like doing it. And then Vegeta is like, I don't want to learn Ultra Instinct because I'm a meanie head and I'm not a calm boy. And I cannot learn it due to my angstiness. And then Beerus is like, don't worry. Gods of Destruction are a whole race of angsty boys. Do you want to come learn our angsty technique? And he's like, yes. And then they leave. And then we cut back to Granola, for the love of God. I hate his name. And then good shit happens again, where he's like delivering the bounty, and it's like cool space hunter stuff. I don't love the names. Don't love that it's Granola and his clan, the Cerealians.
Yeah, on Planet Cereal, and his informant, who's called Oatmeal. And I definitely have to agree. I love like the weird space shit that Super is doing right now. Like,
yeah,
I've said
cool.
It before.
And like, it's like Granola cool. is name not included. If he had a name that didn't suck, he'd be pretty cool. Like, his outfit looks cool, his powers are cool. He like, instead of just giant explosions, he's like a sniper. It's cool. It's Granola is not a pun on anything, so I don't know why it's his name. Because everyone's like, oh, Dragon Ball characters are always named after food, but like, they're puns on food. They're not just like food. Like,
well, okay, kale.
Yeah, but even like, that's still kind of super, right? Like, people point at like, Goku's name is Carrot, and it's like, no, it's not. It's Kakarot. And yeah, that is a pun on Carrot, but his name isn't literally Carrot. And if he rolled up and it was like, Carrot, be careful, vegetable is really strong, I would think it was dumber than I do if it's Kakarot and Vegeta.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this back when the first Granola chapter dropped. I also think the thing is kale and stuff like that is like just a general food item, so you don't necessarily think of it as much, and you can accept it as a name. Whereas granola, a granola bar, is more of a like
processed.
It's more of a specific
item?
thing. Yeah, it's more of a specific thing that you
like you have a character named Band-Aid. Yeah.
Yeah. Also because granola just does not feel like a natural name for someone to have. Like kale, yeah,
Yeah,
I can
Kale is
accept
like
that.
the thing with Kale is it's a very short four-letter name that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of names are just that way. Consonant,
Mm-hmm.
vowel, consonant E. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Yeah.
names are like that. Granola does not fit in any capacity, and I don't want to harp on it because like we've already talked about this is like the second episode we're talking about it. But like I
Uh-huh.
can't say granola and the cerealians without being like, what the fuck am I doing?
It kind of feels when in a when like in a dumb action movie or something, they need to have a nerd character who like talks about some fake series. He's like, "Oh, this is just like when Granola and the Cerealians attacked Planet Breakfast."
Yeah, it's
That's
like
kind of what it feels like.
it comes off like a fucking General Mills commercial. Like the Saiyans defeated Captain Crunch, the head of the Cerulean army, and King Tony the Tiger couldn't protect the planet from Bardock, and it's like it's so stupid. But whatever,
Yeah.
I kind of like where it's going. I like the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't involve Goku and Vegeta a whole lot more than the stuff that does. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see. I mean, if Vegeta just gets like rage mode, I am angry boy mode to counter Goku's calm boy mode, I'll think it's pretty funny.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I like the funky space stuff and the bounty hunter information brokers. Like it almost has like very very loose Mandalorian vibes whenever
Mm-hmm.
fucking Granola does things. Um, and then Goku and Vegeta is just more of the same crap. I'm gonna punch Whis and get real stronger at punching Whis. And then Vegeta's
Mm-hmm.
like, grr, Kakarot's stronger than me. And then Beerus is like, yeah, come and learn how to be angry, but stronger when angry. So, whatever.
Yeah, like I will say I like this chapter a whole lot more than I've liked anything I've read in Super for a while.
Yes.
Mostly because it's just the kooky space stuff is really what I feel Super was missing. Because, you know, it went onto the trouble to expand the universe and whatnot, but then it was mostly just Z, but more in space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like now that we're seeing all these weird space things, the bounty hunters and the space battles, like that's cool. I am in for that.
Yeah, and it
And
feels like the a whole like tournament of power was like I didn't hate it, but it felt like a waste in a lot of ways where it was like we have all of these universes and all of these characters, and every single person on our team is going to be from Earth. They're
yeah,
all going to
yeah.
be characters that you already met. And, you know, that kind of sucks. So it's cool to see a little bit more of like universe building where it's like these are characters that do shit outside of the confines of how badly Goku wants to punch them. And
Hmm.
it's kind of cool. I liked that part of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you know, you mentioned Goku and Vegeta's progression, and while I do agree that Ultra Instinct has kind of lost all its shine, I do like the idea of Goku and Vegeta going down different paths of power and having different specific abilities, but I already know that that's not gonna happen. Like, this setup in any other series would imply that they will learn distinctly different fighting styles and that that will matter, but this is Super, so it won't.
Right. I
What will
mean, in
happen
Dragon
is,
Ball, no matter how much you say that, like, oh, it's a different technique, it's really just a light beam in a different shape and or size that
yeah.
might do a different thing. Like, you can tell me as many times as you want that the Kamehameha and the Final Flash are different, and I will tell you no, no. It's one is yellow and one is blue, and that is all the shit I can tell you that is about why they're actually different. Sometimes you
Yeah.
get some really funky ones, like the Makan Kosopo, which is like a drill, which is like okay, at least that's at least that feels like a technique that has a different application. But every other
Hmm.
character's techniques mostly just feel like they're blowing shit up better. Like Hit's
Yeah.
technique felt like a technique where he's like skipping around in time, but nothing
Hmm.
Jiren did felt like anything other than like I have the strongest number. And Broly has the even strongestest number. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I just can't. And I feel like when we get this transformation from Vegeta, it's going to inevitably be underwhelming because he's
Yeah.
probably just going to get a vaguely different hair color and his aura might change a little bit and then he's just going to blow shit up more.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the most logical thing for him to get at this point is to get the same power up Toppo got in the Tournament of Power. Because, I mean, that was God of Destruction fighting style.
Right.
Which, I mean, you know, That could be cool, but again, all of that is riding on the idea that Vegeta is actually going to master and actually get to do something, which no.
Yeah. Even that
Like,
like fucking forced spirit fission shit that he learned against Moro, that is such an
mhm,
incredibly specific, will literally only be relevant against Moro, probably power. And he still
mhm.
didn't get to win with it.
Yeah,
He
I
learned
mean
a
that's the
literal exact counter technique, and Goku was like, "Get the fuck out of my way."
yeah. He's
So
just he's just fucking he's just a jobber, and I know people hate it when people say that, but he's just a fucking jobber because
he is.
he
I
has
mean, you can't avoid it. Like a lot of people's favorite characters in anything they like are jobbers. I love Toshiro Hitsugaya, and that man's only job is to get fucked up.
But like the thing with Vegeta is he's kind of the deuteragonist past a point in Z. And at least in Z, even though he was still somewhat of a jobber, he did get to do things. Now it's literally all he ever does is, ugh, Kakarot sure has gotten strong. Ugh, I don't like that. Let me learn something new. Oh no, I'm defeated. Ugh, guess
Yeah,
Kakarot has to save me again.
it's
Ah.
interesting how in Z, when Vegeta is holding off Boo so that Goku
Uh-huh.
can charge the Spirit Bomb and everything, it still like yeah, he was getting his shit kicked in, but it still felt like impactful and like that he was
Mm-hmm.
contributing. Whereas in Super, even when he's doing things like I'm sucking out Moro's power with my Aura tiny punches, quick to get him. It's like you're not really doing anything. I don't feel like you're helping. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
when he was doing things in Z, maybe it was just because of the emotional context of where he was willing to literally be erased from existence if it meant stopping Boo. Like that was cool. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
just like I don't know. And every fight in Super feels like they treat it like a joke. Like they're not willing to ever take it seriously until they have no choice but to, and it becomes tiring as well. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of indicative of Super's entire big problem, which is that it's stuck between a starting and an end point that we know everything about. Like before, until Super can outgrow the end of Z, we're just never going to have anything that we can take seriously because we know where everything has to end. Everyone has to be happy. The Earth has to still be around, and you know there can't be too many big changes,
And we also
right?
know
Like,
that they can't really involve Oob in a substantial way
mhm,
because Goku needs to not know who he is.
exactly.
Unless they're going to retcon the end of Z, which I doubt they'll do, but
I mean, they might. Like, I don't care anymore at this point. Like,
yeah,
canon doesn't fucking matter.
that's true. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, like,
I just hope they do more cool,
canonicity.
funky Mandalorian space shit before they start like punching Frieza or whatever they're gonna do this arc.
Yeah, like if we can get like an interesting environment, if we can get space stuff, if we can get more alien races, I'm going to be happy because, you bother to expand the universe, now fucking use it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Uh,
enough of the disappointment trio.
the struggle
The
bus.
struggle, yeah. Oh god, let's go to My Hero Academia.
All right. Um, Among the many, many achievements of this chapter, we have to acknowledge the most important one, Dr. Yoshi. That man is so out of place. It's like this chapter is like trying to be all grim and like despairing, but then I see that fucking dinosaur man,
Yeah,
and
he
I'm like,
literally looks like Yoshi.
he looks like he's in the wrong series, and I kind of love it.
You know what he looks like? He looks like a fucking Garfield character. Like that's the kind of like line art and presentation that he has. Is he?
Yeah.
It's like, and he's giving such a serious like moment. He's literally like, "Oh, you and Gran Torino were very close to death," but it's also like, "Do you hate Mondays too?" While you're giving this explanation,
I actually wouldn't be surprised if this is a fan made character.
I could see
Because
that.
Yeah, because I mean, Horikoshi has done that before, and we won't know until, well, later this week or latest when the volume comes out. Uh, but he definitely has that vibe. Like, he's too distinct of a design for me to think that it's like just a
He just
throwaway
randomly
one.
sketched something. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like he's not going to fucking matter, so it can't be a major character. So the only explanation in my head is like it's probably a fan made design. Uh, although it would be funny if he became important. I need him to go toe to toe against All for One at the end of the series.
All for One attacks the hospital to get to Deku, and he's the last one defending him. It's Dr. Yoshi.
They have a contest of who can evade taxes better.
His ultimate technique is just Big Yoshi.
Slightly related, do you think All for One has ever paid taxes in his life?
Probably, because otherwise he might have gotten Al Caponed. He's
Damn.
probably like, I gotta pay my income tax, so they don't put me down.
He's like, I might be the demon lord of evil, but even I have my limits.
Yeah, even I won't fuck with the IRS.
Yeah, I don't know how strict like the tax enforcements are in Japan, or like how taxes are. They're probably pretty high since Japan has a very high cost of living. Since Japan is kind of our, like, I always hear it described as like financially as the Asian equivalent of Switzerland, and dear God, we pay a lot for everything. So I'm assuming it's similar.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah, but okay, so to get to the meat of the chapter, I really liked it. I was surprised that, the prison break was over and I did not mind. It was like, I
Not
kind
only
of
was it
got,
over, but there was like 6 more.
yes, which was cool. And it's like, it didn't show us all of them in detail, which I'm like, that's cool. I didn't really need it. We got like the panels of, them having like shootouts with the Nomu, which like, cool, but nothing that I need to have a chapter full of. And yeah, like it was fun. It was a nice wrap up to this big climax arc. I will say the beginning portion with Redestro was kind of confusing until I read Caleb's the translator's explanation of it. That was a bit weird, but I'm sure there'll be some reason for it.
Yeah, I was looking at
And
that and I was like, what am I supposed to be taking from this? Um,
yeah, I mean, maybe it's just, hey, Redestro was more competent than y'all thought, which okay, but
fine.
I'm assuming it's gonna come back into something like. I guess it just shows that Redestro had more contingency plans than we realized, which I hope is a setup for him to become a major player, because I just need my Redestro was not wasted video to actually matter. Otherwise, I just look like an idiot, and can't have that.
Yeah.
I don't need more people on my ass. Anyway, but yeah, and then we get to like the kids in the hospital, which I thought was great. Like Shoto's like resolve of like, holy fuck, I probably have to kill my brother. That's cool. Like it's not treated as like a big heroic moment, neither nor is it treated like a big depressive moment. It's just him kind of just shaken but resolute. And I do like that. I also think Hori has a good grasp on how to like communicate facial expressions. And I think this chapter is a great example of that. Like both his and like Natsuo and Fuyumi's facial expressions when they come into his room, they just tell you so much without really saying anything. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, we were harping on about how we want consequences for Deku. Well, man's taking a nap right now, so I suppose that's a consequence, which I'm okay with as long as it leads into something,
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
he's rocking coma mode right now,
yeah.
which is cool. I mean, that is a consequence. It feels a little cheap of one because that just means that it's like, uh-oh, but then we know he's going to wake up. So when he
Mm-hmm.
wakes up, there still needs to be more to it, right? Like he
Yeah,
can't just be like,
definitely.
uh-oh, I was out of the story for 30 chapters, but I am back. Like when he
Yes,
wakes up, he
yes.
needs to still be fucked up, you know? Like this can only be step 1.
Yeah, exactly. Like what I need in the specific order I need it is I need unconscious Deku to have a conversation with someone in the spirit world. Like, it just feels like the natural setup for that, right? He's in a coma, and we know that the spirit world kind of talks to him whenever he's out of it, like when he was being controlled by Shinso. And it just feels like the point in time where he has to really think about, what does One for All mean to me, and what does it mean for me, and for my future. And I think that would be the best way to do it. What I then need is Inko Midoriya coming in and putting the fear of God into All Might, because the scene where she, like 100 chapters ago, 200 chapters ago at this point, where she's like, "Oh, I entrust you with my son's safety, All Might. I know you can do it." And now she's here and she's like, "You sent my son into a literal war zone. What the fuck?" I definitely need a scene with her. I need Deku's dad to get his shit together and actually be a father and like check in on his comatose son. Like,
I
if he
cannot
doesn't,
wait for Deku's dad to be like, "Who did you cheat on me with to have this child, to have this ultra child?
I
Who
mean,
the
the
fuck?"
answer is All Might, right?
That is definitely the obvious one to go to.
I mean, considering Todoroki thought that Deku might have been All Might's bastard child, I think that's probably the comedic route we're going to go through at least once. But yeah, I just need Hizashi to show up, because like, I already thought it was weird that he didn't show up for the New Year's chapter, and that he just was not mentioned. That I felt was, okay, Hori, you're leaning too much into the shonen thing where family members just don't exist.
Right.
And it's like, now he really needs to show up. Like, I will actually hold it against Hori if Hizashi has no response to this, because he's a named character. We know a surprising amount of stuff about him, considering he
He's
has
just
never
gonna look
appeared.
at the news and be like, "Huh, it's wild." It's just fucking back to work.
Yeah. Oh my god, have you read the volume extra that gives you info about Hizashi? Because I
Uh-uh.
wish any of that info was in the main story. Because it's like, so his quirk is that he basically burps fire. And the thing is that if he gets drunk or drinks alcohol, it ignites his lungs and he just starts spewing fire everywhere, which is why he doesn't drink alcohol. And because Japan has this culture where after work you have to go drink with your coworkers and your boss in order to like improve your social standing, and because he could not do that, he could not really find stable employment in Japan, and that's why he went into the US to work. It's
Huh.
like, that's cool, but can you give it to me in like the actual story?
Yeah, can he be a character? That'd
Yeah,
be
like,
nice.
so we literally don't know what he looks like. I assume he's just Deku with a goatee, like,
Yeah, he's
realistically.
probably just like taller Deku
Yeah, I
with a
mean,
more defined cheekbone.
yeah, I mean, maybe he has different eyes because Deku definitely has his mom's eyes. Actually, he even does Deku's mom have the green hair?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so maybe he might even have like different color hair, which would be cool. But yeah,
So
I
then
just
he's
need
definitely gonna think she cheated on him. This kid doesn't look anything like me.
maybe that's why he doesn't show up. He has just silently
He's
decided,
just
yep,
assumed that that's the case.
uh, hoes will be
I don't
hoes.
care about this
Anyway.
kid. It's not my kid.
uh, and yeah, once like the other six quirks show up, he's like, "Oh my god, Inko,
Yeah, what
what
did you
did you
do?
do?" When I said enjoy the Japanese railway system, this is not what I meant. But yes, to get back to the point, I need Hisashi to show up, and I also need for Deku to wake up, have his arms and legs be like absolutely devastated, and for him to be emotionally devastated at what has happened, because he's gonna wake up out of this coma to like an avalanche of news. Because by the time he wakes up, the Endeavor shit will have had consequences. The prisons will have had consequences, hopefully. So I need him to just get overwhelmed. I need Deku to get absolutely broken down before he can come back up. And I think Hori might do that because I have a lot of faith in him. But this is also shonen manga. so I don't know how much faith is warranted.
That's true.
Yeah. But, Hori is a capable writer, all little oopsies notwithstanding. So we'll see. I really like Bakugo in this chapter as well. I like how he doesn't do anything big, but the things he does really tell you about his growth. We're like, he's running towards Deku's hospital room. He's like, "Oh, if you die on me, I'll kill you," which is a very cliche line, but is definitely, very far removed from him literally telling Deku to kill himself at the start of the series.
Right.
So I like that there is that sort of parallelism going on there. I like that Momo, Kirishima, and Mina look like they haven't slept since the war ended, which, good. That's what I'd expect. They literally saw a dead body for the first time in their lives. And I also like the uncaring paparazzi who are just hounding the hospital. And a really neat little detail is that you can actually spot Fuyumi and Natsuo getting dogpiled in the paparazzi crowd before they actually enter the hospital. Because Fuyumi has a big hat and whatnot, and they're trying to be undercover so that they don't get recognized. But then you see the reporters just yelling at them like, "Oh, do you know anything about this? What is your statement?" It's like, that's first of all a cool detail, but also it shows how dehumanized heroes are to the public. They're just these status symbols in a way, and now they don't really care that all these kids are traumatized and that basically a war happened. They're just like, what's the hot gossip on Endeavor? And it's like, yeah, that's
a good
that's
take
a
on
good
capitalism.
Oh God, here we go again.
I mean, it's very much a real world parallel to just people don't give a shit that Britney Spears is clearly mentally ill. They just want to take as many pictures of her to sell as possible. Yeah, they don't give a shit about any of that. They just want to cash in on Endeavor's shit that's going on. They want to make money off it as long as they can.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what's gonna get Hisashi. He's gonna be like, my son breaking into, I can't. That's okay, but unfettered capitalism, nah, bro. It's time for me to step in. Which is why he was in the U.S. in the first place. Oh my God, Hisashi Midoriya is just going to be Bernie Sanders, isn't it?
It's just they're gonna open the door and it's just the Bernie sitting there meme.
No, now I need that.
Go. What happened to our son?
Bernie Midoriya. I mean, Hisashi Midoriya's quirk is spitting fire, and Bernie certainly does that whenever he speaks about politics.
That's true.
And of course, the thing that always has me nervous is Shigaraki and All for One.
Yeah, their dynamic is funky still.
Yeah, I want to say I'm not too worried because Hori is playing with this so much that I want to almost say he's aware that people don't necessarily want All for One to take over Shigaraki permanently. So I am holding out hope, but man, he's really toying with my emotions on this one.
Yeah, he is really fucking with it.
Yeah. Which, that's kind of what you do as an author, right? You play with your audience's expectations and emotions. That's what you do. And usually I probably wouldn't care as much. Just this time it's because it's such a it's a plot point I care about very strongly, where it's very much it either goes into the exact direction I want it to, or I'm gonna be pretty unhappy. So, we'll see. I'm holding out hope. Again, the fact that he does play with it so much is giving me the impression that he doesn't just want to immediately commit to the oopsie option.
Right.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope that's true, at the very least. My only real complaint, really wish Gran Torino was fucking dead. Why are you still here, you tiny gnome?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Although, I think we might get him night-eyed, because, his heart monitor gets its own panel. Come on, Hori.
Yeah, just for the love of God, get rid of him. Eraserhead's looking pretty fucked up, which is nice. Man lost his leg, so he's either going to come back as a Mechamaru, or he's going to have to take a back seat. One of the two.
Yeah. He also lost a friend. again in
Yeah,
Midnight.
that's true. The man is hurting.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shoto was probably my favorite part of this chapter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I did again like the Bakugo stuff too, just because he's like, I don't know, he considers him and Deku kind of like this little team now because they're the only ones that know about All Might's secret, and they're like they're friends now. Whether or not Bakugo will be an asshole about it or not, they're buddies now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think the best panel was probably Shoto just being like, I have to kill my brother, and
Mm-hmm.
my dad can't go kill my brother. I have to kill my brother. I have
Yeah.
to fuck him up immensely.
Yeah, and I really hope that Hori delivers on that, like in a good and proper way, because man, fated battles between brothers is my shit, right? Like I was such a Sasuke Itachi fanboy when I was young, and obviously, that ended up going into the direction it ended up going to. But like, if Dabi and Shoto can have like that sort of reoccurring dynamic where every time either one of them learns of the other or sees the other, something cool is happening, I'm down for that.
Yeah,
you
I
know
just don't want. I don't want any sort of Davi redemption. This series
oh yeah.
always scares me that it's going to like at the last minute. This guy, he's not really evil. It's just a bad circumstance. And then they're like,
Mhm.
I've gone too far, but I will do a heroic thing at the last minute. Like I don't ever want that. And I really
Mhm.
hope that Shoto's not like, I have to talk to my brother and get him to understand. I hope it's just like, you know, hey, I see that, I felt like you before and I get it, but you've gone too far and I'm going to be the one that takes responsibility for this and deals with you. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want, I have to save my brother from himself. I have to
Mhm.
pull him out of the darkness. Like,
I am the key that
I,
opens the lock
yeah,
to the darkness.
my heart is my guiding key to my brother. I need him. I need it to be a somber moment. That's fine. It can be very sad, but
Mhm.
I just need it to be Davi is a bad guy who did a lot of really awful things, and there needs to be some level of comeuppance for that. He can't get Darth
Yeah.
Vader, man. He can't kill a bunch of little kids and then be like, there's good in me.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Like I kind of don't want anyone to get redeemed. The only person I would accept it with is Toga, because she's like, her violence is very much just a result of like her quirk, no, her quirk's implications not having been taught to her properly and her having to figure things out on her own. Like that I can see. Like her I can see maybe not redeemed, but like rehabilitated into society.
Yeah, Toga
Uh
strikes me more as just kind of a broken person who
yeah.
just doesn't get it. I mean, she's still done some
Hmm.
pretty fucked up stuff. Like, she did float an entire group of people and then drop them and blow them all up on the ground. Um,
Yeah. But
but
those
like,
people were
they
evil
were
and also
attacking her and stuff.
capitalists,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, she's definitely the one that feels, and Spinner too, feel the least like outright evil. But when it
Hmm.
comes to like Dabi and Shigaraki, like, you can't do it, man. You just gotta let him
Yeah.
go down.
Yeah, because the other thing is also that Toga is the youngest one of the league, and I feel like out of anyone, she'd be the most like still influenceable. Whereas Darby, like a couple of chapters ago, it literally made a point to say, "Look, I'm too deep into this. I'm not listening to your stupid kitty talk." Right?
Yeah,
Like
like Deku
Midoriya.
tried, and he was like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, like I've been seething in my own hatred for like a decade. Like you have no chance. And I want that to remain consistent. I
Yes.
also, what I can see happening and what I wouldn't necessarily mind is Deku kind of going down the I want to save Shigaraki path for a while because that was hinted at. I just don't want that to be the final conclusion. Like I want Deku's ultimate realization to be some people are just too far gone and I have to accept that. You
Right.
know, because MHA, despite how kiddie it feels sometimes, does have a relatively mature outlook on certain situations, like the way it handles society and the way it handles, you know, how the world is just incredibly unfair because of quirks and how that leads into other unfairness. Like that is a relatively grown up take on it, and I don't want that to end up in such an infantile way of, oh, you can turn anyone as long as you're just nice enough and you keep smiling. It's like, no, that's where All Might was wrong. Like, some things cannot be fixed by smiling. Some things are just bad. Some people are just too far gone, and you as the hero need to take responsibility and do the thing that is hard, because the good thing is always also the hard thing. And I know that quote often is in the context of, oh, the hard thing means talking to them, and whereas
Yeah,
killing them will be the easy
anime
thing.
style of like, if you do violence to them, you're just like them. The grown
Yeah,
up, mature thing to do is to help them, but sometimes you
yeah,
can't, right?
yeah.
Like
Like,
Shigaraki, I could see Shigaraki having a moment of like, my whole life was fucked, and
mhm.
I blame you, and like, fuck you all for one. But I don't see him reaching a conclusion that, oh, I should be nice now. Like,
Yeah,
if he has that moment, which I think he might at some point, I don't think it's unreasonable that he could. I
mhm.
want it to just be more of like, so if my life is just fucked, that it just fuck everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like ditch the pretense, because he's always felt kind of like it was kind of an excuse, like it was a pretentious like
Oh
society is
yeah,
the
yeah.
bad guy. I'm actually to help, fixing
I
this
mean,
evil world, and like I could see him having a moment where he realizes that maybe he was manipulated and like everything
mhm.
sucks. But then his takeaway from that is, so I'm just gonna destroy everything because I don't give a shit. Fuck the
Yeah, I mean
pretense,
that.
fuck the theater and the, fake glamour of it. It's just that bad things happen to me and I want bad things to happen to everyone else because of it.
Yeah, and I mean, he pretty much says as much when the doctor asks him what he wants, and he's literally just, "I want the horizon upon which anyone wakes to be shattered and gory, and I will show you what I mean." It's like, yeah, like I'm on board with that. Like, I know some people say that that would make him boring, but like the point of Shigaraki's character isn't that he's this deep personality. The point is that his existence itself is a giant black blot on society. Like, the fact that society can naturally produce someone like him is the whole point of Shigaraki's character. So like, I wouldn't mind if he went down the road of, my life was fucked, fuck everything else. And
Right.
I definitely think he is going to be the one to take out All for One. Like,
I think he
again,
has to be. Like,
yeah,
if
like
it's
Hori
not
has.
All Might, it has to be Shigaraki.
Yeah, and like, Hori has reintroduced and reestablished multiple times now that, Shiggy has a sort of respect for All for One, but he does not like it when he meddles with him. And I mean, this last chapter as well, he's like, "Oh, I won't be your pawn." It's like, okay, don't be his pawn. Fucking murk him.
Right.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I definitely don't want any redemption stories here. Like, I think the term redemption, or like turnaround, needs to be for Endeavor, because he is the only one where I can see, like, okay, he's just a shitty person, but compared to these like murderers, like mass murderers, he is still someone you can make turn around and give him an interesting character arc in the
Yeah,
process.
Endeavor is like an asshole.
Yeah.
And like to an extreme degree, he's just a fucking like a dick. He sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
he's not like, well, he kind of is. But he's not an irredeemable, horrible murderer. I was gonna say monster. He's kind of a monster, a little bit. At least he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But he's not like this mass murderer. He's not like, he doesn't have zero value in human life and like just doesn't give a shit who lives or dies. He doesn't trap people in orbs and burn them alive and shit like Davi, or rip apart entire cities. Like, he's a selfish asshole who cared
Yeah.
more about his own legacy than his family, and he didn't treat them well. And he
Mm-hmm.
realizes that. And whether or not that is, you know, I know a lot of people don't want him to get, you know, redeemed or
Happy.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they think that, he's just this ultimate evil because he did a bad thing. And I don't necessarily think you're invalid for thinking that, like, you are who you are, and when you do awful things, you are an awful person, and that's fine. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that the scope of, like, that's a very personal family, you're a piece of shit, and I don't think that Shoto has to reach the point of forgiving him for him to be
Hmm.
redeemed. Like, he can die saving Shoto, and Shoto's end thought on that can be like, you were still my dad, but I still don't like you that much. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
that would be fine. But I think you have to have something like that for the character like him. If Shigaraki and Deku team up and take down All for One together, I will lose my shit, and this series will suck.
Yes, definitely. Like, I just don't want any of those like dumb team up things that people suggest sometimes. And with Endeavor, like I don't really want Endeavor to end up being a happy man because he needs to suffer consequences,
Right.
right? Like, I think people sometimes get carried away trying to defend him, and they're like, "Oh no, did nothing wrong." He's like, "Oh, back off, buddy!" Like, not saying that.
Yeah, and Endeavor's not a good guy. There's no other way
Yes.
to put it. He's not a good guy, and that's okay because that's what a nuanced character is. Because in the real world, nobody is either a good or bad guy, and that's it, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
bad people do good things all the time, and good people can do bad things, and it's the
Hmm.
measure of who they are as a person is like the culmination of everything. And I like
Yeah.
that about the series that Endeavor is currently the number one ranked hero in the world, and he's kind of a piece of shit. Like,
Yeah,
I
and it's
like that.
because like if you just look at it pragmatically, Endeavor has ruined 4 lives, but he has probably saved hundreds throughout his like 20-year long career, as the number two hero for most of it. Pragmatically speaking, and this is a very unemotional, removed perspective, he has done overwhelming amounts of goods. But because we get that perspective from Shoto, and because we get that deep, intimate look into his family life, that perspective is complicated, and that's what I like. It's uh, how do you weigh that out, right? How do you weigh Shoto's suffering against the you know dozens, hundreds of households that were not torn apart because Endeavor saved one of their family members?
Right.
And there is obviously the other angle to it, which is the fact that we see Shoto, we care about him, we don't care about random off-screen people Endeavor saved, and that's a fair point. It's also the same point as when the villains say, "Oh, they've killed 30 people," that doesn't matter as much because murder is very desensitized in media, whereas abuse is much more of a closer to home topic, and that's a valid perspective. But personally, I think that when you commit to trying to morally judge characters in a work to the point where that moral judgment influences your opinion of the character or even the author in like a larger scope, you do kind of have to have a sort of top-down perspective
Right.
and be like, okay, like let's look at everything and let's put them together. Like that's the whole thing. Dobby has killed 30 people and he has ruined God knows how many lives because of that. Endeavor has saved many times more lives than he has ruined, and but it's still complicated, right? It's not one way or the other. It's just a sum of everything and looking at it from different perspectives. And that's what nuance is.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Like, it feels so reductionist to look at him and be like, oh, he did bad thing, he evil man. And it's like,
mm-hmm,
I don't necessarily disagree with you that he's a shitty person, because he is a shitty person. And
mm-hmm,
that's a perfectly reasonable conclusion to reach about him. But there's just more
mm-hmm.
to it than that. And I don't know. That's a good thing. And it makes stories
Yeah,
good. And
yeah.
you should like that there's more to him than that if you enjoy the series.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously everyone has their own sensibilities and whatnot, but I do think it's very odd how common of an idea it is that showing a bad thing happen in a story is an endorsement of it.
Yeah,
Like,
we talked a little bit about that, I think, before. It's a startlingly common thing that people
yeah.
seem to think that, like, if anything bad appears, you're like validating it or like platforming it or something. It's
Hmm.
very strange. I don't
Yeah,
get it. Like, if you show a
yeah.
bad thing happening and you depict it as a bad thing, that just is what life is. Like, bad shit happens in it sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like, again, as you mentioned, depiction is what matters. Like, you know, if we had gotten a scene in the anime where Endeavor is beating the shit out of his children, like You Say Run starts playing, and is like showing Endeavor to be cool. Like, yeah, of course that'd be a problem, but that's not what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
they never frame the like Endeavor being obsessed with All Might because it's almost like a traditional shonen story of like I am gonna surpass this guy no matter what it takes, and it's painted very heroically generally. But they never do
mhm,
that with him. And if they did do that with him, I would totally understand being like, what the fuck? This guy is literally doing eugenics. And the series is
mhm,
like, wow, look at this guy giving it his all. But it doesn't do that. It never paints it in a positive light ever.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. I don't get that. I think if we really dig into it, it might be a consequence of how, for a long time, the conception existed that media is a tool of moral guidance. The idea of amoral movies and books that need to be banned because they depict bad things, and if you show a bad thing and you put it into people's minds and it comes out, and it's like, I don't know, it feels really traditionalist in a way.
It does
Feels
kind of.
like
Yeah, that's a very good point.
it's like, oh, we cannot write stories about premarital romantic engagements. It'll put the idea in the youngins' heads. It's like, no, like, we can't write stories about people doing bad things. It'll get people to do bad things, and it's like, no,
No, because you made it a bad thing to do, so no
yeah,
one's gonna fucking do it.
yeah, like, I mean, there's always going to be the idiots who interpret it as a validation of their own shitty values. Like, you
Well,
cannot
sure.
avoid that.
There inevitably that'll happen at some point. But like,
Yeah.
how much of that do you put on the work versus like people
All I
suck?
gotta say is there are people who identify with and feel validated by Chocolata from JoJo.
Oh God.
That's a real thing. I saw Medi post about how he got a comment about that, and it's like, Chocolata
Chocolata of
is
all people?
Chocolata is shown as negatively as you can
He
show a
is like
character.
some kind of yeah, he's like a crazy fucking whatever. Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not
whatever.
even yeah. That's weird. That's all I have to say about that. If
It's
you are one of
no
those people, you're weird.
no shortage of weirdness on the internet.
No, that's very true. But anyway,
Um,
My Hero
any
good.
final words?
My Hero good.
Yeah, yeah. My Hero, good. I like it. I am Mr. My Hero, and I will continue to be.
I am Mr. My
Solid.
Hero and I endorse this message.
Yeah, solid 2 out of 10. Smooth.
The best 3 out of 10 I've ever read in my life.
I'm just gonna keep giving shit like a 2 or 3 out of 10. I'm so fucking tired of people getting upset at me for
Oh,
like what
they're
I
gonna
think of
dig that shit
series.
out in 10 years when you say you like it? Well, then what was this? Hypocrite.
Yeah, I've been thinking maybe whenever I post about Bleach, I'll post about it with the same energy as when I enjoy it, but I replace all the positive word with negative words. I'd be like, "Yo, that was mid."
This was so fucking shit.
Yeah, just for consistency, just to appease the fucking internet virgins that have been hounding my mentions for a week now.
Oh,
Like,
it's so
Jesus,
sad. And
so
like, I
dumb.
saw someone use the phrase true fan, and I was like, I'm out. Can't
I
take you
saw
seriously.
someone I saw someone tell me I should, uh, you know, I should be held accountable for my words. And it's like, dude, I didn't. I'm, I'm not a racist. Like, what are you
I
on
know.
about?
Like, dude, you didn't like. You just made fun of a drawing on the internet.
It's like, oh, you're a hypocrite. It's like, dog, have you cared about something meaningful in your life,
God, I
or are
know,
you just
dude. Go pay
sad?
a bill, right? Like, ask a girl out to a dance or something. Like, what are you
Well, maybe,
doing?
maybe, maybe don't ask a girl out now during the pandemic.
Hey, she's gonna say no anyway. So what difference does it make?
That's true. I mean, she's gonna take one look at the Twitter profile and she'll see
You're gonna
like
ask. Well, then
nothing.
again, she won't be able to smell them through the computer screen that he's asking her out through. So that might be an advantage.
That's to a tactical advantage.
Yeah, that's all. It's all in the strategy.
I can't believe that shit's still going on. Like, I thought we were over it the first time, but man, I'm just trying to grill for
So I
God's
looked at one of
sake.
the people doing it, and it's apparently like a reasonably sized YouTuber who's just been losing his shit because he's like, I like Bleach and I do things for Bleach and other people are coming in and everyone's gonna go watch them do Bleach things and not me anymore. But I'm the
Yeah, I know
Bleach.
who you mean.
Yeah, and it's like, dude,
I
shut
know who
up.
you
Shut the
mean.
fuck up. Nobody cares. Fuck off.
I mean, Bleach YouTube is. I don't want to talk shit about other YouTubers because YouTubing is hard, right? But I've had a lot of very unpleasant encounters with Bleach YouTubers exclusively. Like, there's the big guy who we don't need to name.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who he is, but
Uh-huh.
you know, I think the funniest thing to me is just how they all assume I'm going to like make big bank off of Bleach. It's like I literally don't even know when the anime is coming back. I know it's sometime this year. I definitely don't plan on making any videos on Bleach just because
Yeah, like, well,
God, getting obsessed with another 700 chapter series is just not in my timeline.
it's just
Like,
so weird that, like, oh, he's abusing Bleach by liking it now that it's popular. And it's like, okay, first of all, it's always been popular forever, so
mhm.
shut the fuck up. Two, yeah, isn't that so weird that when something gets a very hype announcement that a lot of people are talking about, more people look at it?
Yeah, and it's like there was one guy who was like, "Oh, you had like multiple years to get into it. Why now?" It's like, well, because your hive leader doxed one of my best friends. Like that's why. Like,
Great.
what the fuck do you think? So, and again, if you think a YouTuber at 80K is making so much money that editing a video on something I don't like would be a valuable move, like, please show me your strategies because I sure as shit am not
Yeah, for the
making
love
that
of God,
much
show your
money.
work. Like, how did you get to this conclusion?
Like, I sure as hell am not making enough money for that to be a
Also,
valuable
you
move.
haven't even made any fucking Bleach content. That's what I don't understand. Like, you're not pumping out Bleach chapter reviews. You've posted 12 images on your fucking Twitter. That's it.
Yes. You know what I should do? I'm feeling like I need to do like a I read Bleach video and it's a second long and it's just me saying it was okay and demonetize it just to send a message.
No, what you
But I
should
won't.
do is you should make it 5 seconds long, and there should be one ad inserted in every 5 seconds. There should be five ads.
I wish I could do that, but you can't do
I
that
know you
because
can't. Yeah,
mid-roll.
you can't
Yeah,
monetize a video below 8 minutes. Damn shame.
yeah, that is a shame. But maybe I should just say it's okay for 8 minutes and make crazy amounts of money. Like the way they talk about it, it's like if I've already made money about it, like no one's paying me to tweet.
Bro,
Like
yeah,
what the
like
fuck?
nobody gives a shit. And like, I don't know, just get a real problem. Just have a real problem in your life for once so you can stop worrying about who fucking said something bad about a drawing 2.5 years ago. Just fuck off. Anyway,
Yeah,
Jujutsu Kaisen
yeah.
was fucking
Jujutsu
sick
Kaisen.
this week.
It was. I actually wanted to make a link because didn't you get shit because someone said that you got onto Jujutsu Kaisen as the anime was coming out?
I posted like a list of all of my favorite shonens that were running right now, like in the current
Mm-hmm.
magazine, and Jujutsu Kaisen was at the top. And someone
Mm-hmm.
said, "Wow, it's crazy what bandwagon hype does for a series." And I was like, "I've been tweeting about this shit before the anime even came out." And he was like, "No,
Mm-hmm.
it just got boosted by the anime." And I was like, "It was selling like crazy before the anime came out." And then
Mm-hmm.
he said, "But what about before the anime was announced?" And I was like, "The anime was announced a year and a half before it started airing, dog. Like, what do you want?"
It's like, is it a bad thing that the anime is boosting it? Like that's the
Yeah,
point?
what series? That's what anime is for. What series
Like
hasn't been boosted by its anime?
like I'm sorry, not everything is Hunter x Hunter where the anime doesn't matter because the manga doesn't matter because it's been on hiatus since before you were born. But okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Speaking of anime, this is off topic a little bit, but someone in the comments of our Big Three video brought up an awesome point when we were talking about the West and like why
hmm
certain ones blew up. Uh,
hmm
Bleach only aired on Adult Swim, which was like a late night thing.
Uh-huh.
One Piece was a 4 kids production, so it sucked dog shit.
hmm
And Naruto was a center Toonami block production. So it was an interesting piece of insight from him that was like, yeah, Naruto did blow up, but I kind of feel like it had a really advantageous setting to do that in comparison to the other two. I thought that was very interesting, and we didn't touch on it.
That's true. I mean, where it gets picked up is obviously also a big, big part of it. Because if you think about all the anime that now are being Netflix exclusive and are being gatekept by the Netflix subscription and by the fact that Netflix does only release full seasons outside of Japan, something like Beastars, for example, I think there definitely is an observation to be made about how that influences popularity going forward. So it's interesting to see that that was a problem even back then.
Sounds like capitalism is also ruining anime. Anyway, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Anyway, Jujutsu Kaisen, let's go.
Damn, it was crazy good this week, and there was like no hands throwing. That's what I love about Jujutsu Kaisen is like it has all these hype moments that are like borderline Bleach moments, like Toto showing up and being like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm gonna, everything's gonna change," and like that's very reminiscent of like a how Bleach handled its hype moments of like all is lost. There's nothing that can be done. Uh-oh, fucking badass just popped up on the scene. Like,
Mhm.
and it can have these chapters like this that are literally a conversation. It's
Mhm.
it's Yuki and it's Geto talking. That's the
Mhm.
chapter, and it was so good. We
Yes,
got a
I think.
couple really awesome reveals. We got the official confirmation that the brain is not Noritoshi Kamo. The
Mhm.
brain predated him. That's 100%
Mhm.
confirmed now.
Well, yeah, he talks about the Heian era,
And that
which.
he started his plan a millennium ago, not 100
Mhm.
years ago when Noritoshi Kamo was alive.
Exactly.
Choso got a little cool bit in on Uraume, where he had poison blood. Um, we got to see the prison realm. It's confirmed that Geto has it, and it sure doesn't look
Mhm.
like they're getting it back because next week is the final chapter of the arc.
Mhm.
Um, he's talking about returning to the Heian era, the golden age of curses.
Mhm.
And him
Which
and Yuki's
for
conversation in general, I thought was like really cool and really neat. Their
yeah.
perspectives
So
on it.
just for context, for you if you don't know, and for the audience, the Heian era is Japan from the year 700 to 1100,
Is
and
that is
it's
that pre
the
Ito? Like right before it?
I believe that's pre-Edo, and it's the first era where Chinese influences in Japan started weakening, and Japan started developing its own like differentiated culture. That's what a quick Wikipedia search told me.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting if it segues right into Edo or not.
Let me see. Actually, let me Google again. I have the
Oh,
power.
well, it does say that it's named after. I think it is because it says it's named after Heian-kyo, which is modern Kyoto, the city of Kyoto, which
Hmm.
was the capital prior to Edo moving into
Yeah,
Tokyo.
yeah, but I think there is still one. There has to be still be something between Edo and Heian because Heian ends at 1100 and Edo starts in 1600.
Is it the Nara period? No, it's not.
Let me find
Uh,
out. I wish there was like an actual comprehensive timeline, but I suppose that's not how time works.
I'm sure it's someone there. I'm sure it's there somewhere on the internet if we looked hard enough. But we're talking about cartoons right now, so that can wait.
Exactly, exactly.
Uh,
Uh, oh well,
sh-
actually, I just found it.
oh,
Okay, so there's actually three periods between Heian and Edo. There is the Kamakura period, there is the Muromachi period, and there is the Azuchi Momoyama period. And Heian and Nara periods are actually both together. They're
okay,
considered the same or at least concurrent, it seems.
okay, interesting.
Hmm.
I clearly
Yep.
don't know enough about my Japanese long history.
Oh, I know jack shit about Japanese history. Our history lessons were Switzerland history, U.S. history, World Wars, Cold War.
Yep, that's about it.
Yeah. But okay, back to cartoons. Um, I love this chapter. I am so happy with the direction this is taking. Like we end Shibuya, which was like the big culmination point that we had since chapter 16, because that's the first time Geto mentions that they plan to do something in Shibuya. And now that that's over, Geto's immediately like, oh, by the way, here's the next setup. Like 1,000 evil Yuji Itadoris, including Megumi's sister. And it's like, all right, all right, I'm in for it. I am absolutely in for it. And if this means they're gonna have to deal with an even bigger problem than they had before, while also being down exactly one Gojo, whew, I'm ready. I'm ready to see how they fix that. I also thought I think we got the name on Yuki's ability? Because she said that she was buying time for LaRue.
No, LaRue is a character.
Who's LaRue?
LaRue is a character from Ghetto's old family, just like Miguel,
Oh, and she's buying time for
for
them.
whatever he's doing. So we
Huh.
have two characters now that we've explicitly been told we're buying time for. We have LaRue
Mm-hmm.
and we have Urahime.
Utahi. Yeah. Huh.
So yeah, at first I saw the name and I was like, is that her little Shikigami? Because the name sounded familiar. And then I realized that I
Mm-hmm.
had just read Jujutsu Kaisen Zero because it had just come out again right before this.
Mm-hmm.
He also shows up in the flashback they have right at the beginning of the arc. He is the one who says, you know, rest assured that we are still family and one day we'll meet again.
Oh, big muscles
Big
and
muscle boy. Yep, that's him.
big muscles and nipple stars, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it's just I every time a Jujutsu Kaisen chapter ends, I'm like, I need more information like now.
Yes. And
I
that's something that, I'm going to tease the anime a little bit because of the way they handled the Toto thing with the no narrator. What
yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen does so well to me is it gives you just enough information that you feel like you can work with what you have. And you can
Mm-hmm.
think and you can wonder what's coming next. Nothing ever feels like it's completely out of nowhere. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Not like just the simple line of narration when the Toto thing happens in the manga was enough for people to spin crazy fan theories, for a long time
Mm-hmm.
about what that could
Yeah.
mean. Whereas in the anime, I think taking that out just makes it look like a silly gag thing.
Exactly, because I watched the anime with someone who's anime only, and he basically just when I asked him about it, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's just Toto being weird," and I'm like, "Oh well."
And see,
See ya in Shibuya.
right,
Yeah.
and see, I think that it's okay to pull that conclusion from it because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
did pull that conclusion from it in the manga too. But what the manga does is it gives you the option to look at it more deeply. That the
Yeah.
anime did not
Yeah.
do that. Like I have no problem with people seeing that scene and saying, "Oh, Toto's just a weirdo," because it would
Mm-hmm.
never in the manga it never told you that wasn't the case. But
Mm-hmm.
it gave you enough information to think that maybe it isn't. And that's what I love
Mm-hmm.
about Jujutsu Kaisen. Every time it kind of deepens the mystery, you've got
Mm-hmm.
that nagging thread of like, well, wait a minute, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Noritoshi Kama thing, when the first reveal happened, and you had half of the internet being like, stop overthinking things, it's just Noritoshi Kama's brain. Well, guess what? Now
Mm-hmm.
it's not. We know it's not. So, every little thing, and the only real thing that foreshadowed that it wasn't Noritoshi Kama's brain was that Kamo had the stitches.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was it. That
Exactly.
was the only thread it gave you, but it was enough to think maybe he's not, you know? And this chapter is another fine example of that. I love that we're kind of looking at it, the world at large now, almost on like a political scale,
Mm-hmm.
where Japan is like a huge epicenter of cursed energy. And if
Mm-hmm.
it became to the point that like Japan literally was the only place that had it, the United States would blow it up. Like
Mm-hmm.
she
Yeah.
literally is like, yeah, the United States would get pissed off if Japan had a bunch of superpowered people.
Uh-huh.
And then you have these differing ideas between Yuki and Geto. I'm just gonna keep calling him Geto. I know he's not really him, and I just can't
Yeah.
think of a way to keep. I don't want to call him Brain. A lot of people just call him
Yeah.
Brain. I don't want to do that. Um,
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
don't
gonna.
want to. I don't want to necessarily keep calling him Magageto because it is a bit of a mouthful, even though it is super funny every time.
It's always funny, but yeah, it's a bit long-winded. I'm just gonna keep calling him Geto as long as that's the skin suit that he's wearing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if we ever get to a portion again where saying ghetto leads to confusion, because right now, honestly, it shouldn't. The real
Yeah.
ghetto is not in the story. So if we get to a
Mm-hmm.
point where it causes confusion, I will call him something different. As of right now, I'm just going to keep calling him ghetto. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the differentiation between what Yuki wants, because Yuki again is not really a rank and file Jujutsu sorcerer like the principal or whatever, who just is like, this is the way it works, so this is how we're doing things. She has her own kind of idealistic view on like how cursed energy and humans should evolve and what that means. And to her,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a world without it. Whereas to Getzo, it is a world like beyond, not beyond it in the same way that Yuki says it, where it's like we need to make it a relic of the past, whereas to Geto it's we need to take it to realms it's never been.
Hmm.
And the whole next portion of the story is going to go crazy. It's going to go
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and I gotta say I really love that all of these like special grade sorcerers, the moment they reach special grade, they're like, all right, what can I do to remake the world in a way that I think is good? Like, you had Ghetto, obviously with his very extreme thoughts. You had Yuki, which is relatively philosophical, and then you have Gojo, who's literally like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna teach the kids to be smarter than the adults are right now. It's like it feels like they're taking responsibility for their position, which makes them feel more mature to me and makes me also respect them more, which I really like.
Right.
So,
None of the special grades feel like cogs in the machine. They
hmm
all feel like they look at the world differently than people who aren't.
yeah, yeah. It almost feels like they have that sort of top-down perspective where it's like, okay, shit is fucked, and here's how I'm gonna fix it. And you might not agree, but what are you gonna do? Right?
Right.
Like it's interesting that out of all of them, Gojo almost has the most mature approach to it, which is really ironic because he's like the big man child. But Geto becomes a Nazi.
Right. Geto is
Um,
just a terrorist basically.
Yuki runs away and like just does her own thing without ever cooperating with anyone really. We have no clue what Utah is doing, so I won't say. But Gojo is like, okay, I will change the system by not forcing it to change, but by instilling my ideas into the next generation. And it's like that is a very mature way of going about it for someone who is always described as an insolent brat by everyone.
Yeah. God,
So
Gojo's such a good fucking character. He's been out of the
Gojo
story for over a year and we still talk about him every week.
Gojo, the thing with Gojo is that every single thing that happens in Jujutsu Kaisen makes him better by implication. It's
Yep,
so funny
pretty much.
every time. Like when they introduced the maximum techniques, our first thought was, "Oh my god,
Well,
Gojo!"
it's funny. That wasn't even when they were introduced, and I didn't pick up on it because the
That's
fan
true.
scans of JJK Zero, it was not called that.
Yeah.
And I just didn't recognize the shape. I guess I probably should have.
Mhm.
But it's actually introduced in Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, which is crazy because it
Yeah.
predates anything in the series existing.
In general, and I know this is a bit of a detour, but Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, reading it with the knowledge that it was made before Jujutsu Kaisen is nuts because there's so much shit that lines up.
Oh, it's
And
like perfectly combined. We'll get to Jujutsu Kaisen Zero because that actually does count for this episode too. So let's wrap
yeah.
up the actual JJK chapter because we are rolling up on 2 hours. We knew this was going to be a
Okay,
long
okay.
one, but still.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Jujutsu Kaisen this week, super good. If you're not reading Jujutsu Kaisen 14 weeks into this podcast, Jesus Christ, we really must be terrible at convincing
Yeah, I don't
people.
know how you could possibly not be reading it at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of my favorite shonens of all time, and it's at 136 chapters. Like that's
yeah,
insane.
like
And other than like One Piece, I've read every big boy. You name it, I've read it. Like Jujutsu Kaisen
like
is just that good.
look, if you're not reading Jujutsu Kaisen yet, like sorry for you, I guess, but we're just built exceptional.
Yeah, I am sorry for how miserable you must be if you're not reading Jujutsu Kaisen every week.
We still love you though, but
Yeah,
read Jujutsu
we're
Kaisen
trying
for
to help
real.
you, man. We're trying to get you on some peak shit.
We're like we're the hand on your shoulder telling you, "Hey, buddy, just drop what you're doing and come smoke this with me."
Uh-huh.
And it's just a piece of paper, and inside is Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 1. Just rolled up.
And
But
man,
okay,
I'm not ready for Fushigoro's sister to be a bad guy.
I am. I mean, I know you're not ready for anything that's gonna happen to Nobara.
Dude, I just need to know she's alive at this point. I don't even she could be crippled, but as long as she's alive, I just need her alive.
Well, she'll be alive, and then you'll still be here every week crying that she lost an eye, and I'll be here right with you.
Hey,
Because,
I will
man,
be devastated if she loses an eye, but she's not dead. That's all I need. It's been so long since she got blasted by Mahito that I'm literally just like, please, Giga, just a crumb. Just give me a crumb of her well-being, for the love of God.
Just an ounce, a molecule of
Anything, just a
confirmation.
drop of survival, please.
Oh my god, you're like still surviving off of that. There's a 1% chance you
I
might
am. It's all
survive.
I've got. I'm clinging to it.
It's
That
like your
just
last
there's a
morsel of bread.
non-0% chance that she'll live. That's all I've got. And what's interesting is the spoilers for this chapter actually messed up a little bit because they mentioned that the spoilers said Maki was confirmed to survive. She did not get
Mhm.
that. That did not happen.
Mhm.
They said that Yuki's people went and saved Maki. They were actually referring to Mai.
Yeah, which is a
So
funny mistake considering their relationship. But
yes,
I mean, if you
I
think
mean their
about
names are one letter apart. So
that is true. But also, if you think about it, last week's chapter, the spoilers said that Utahime's technique was that she could, if she styles her hair into the style of someone else, she can use their curse technique. So,
I hope that's
that
true because
obviously that's kind of cool, yeah,
yeah.
but obviously that didn't happen.
No, it definitely didn't happen. But I mean, the spoilers that I read were 100% correct for this chapter, other than that name.
Hmm.
So that is a big anyone who was let out a sigh of relief that Maki was okay. Didn't happen. Still up in the
Yeah,
air.
she might still look like a chicken nugget.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened to Nanami after Jogo got him. Uh,
Oh, God.
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. That it's funny that like we know there's only one more chapter left. It's been confirmed. It's got the
Mhm.
celebratory color like spread and everything, and I'm still like terrified about
Mm.
everything.
Yeah, because now we're gonna get into the consequences of Shibuya,
Yeah, it's no
which
longer like the roller coaster is over, and now you have to get off and you have to see what happened while you were gone.
the roller coaster is over, and now you have to deal with the stomach problems.
Mm-hmm. And
You
I'm
need
not
to
ready.
see.
I'm not ready. I don't want to start February with Nobar's funeral.
Oh God, that. Oh man, that'll be something. And yeah, I think with Jujutsu Kaisen especially, it's like you never know what's going to happen, but you can always make educated guesses, and every single one of those educated guesses is pure gas.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No matter what could happen, it will be fire.
yeah, exactly. It'll be just gasolina and fuego.
Yeah, and it's funny that we say that because right after the My Hero, where I'm like, there's all these things that could happen, and some of them are awesome, and some of them are shit. With Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm like, there's a million things that could happen, and every single one would have me screaming.
Yeah,
Every
I
single
think
one.
that I think the difference is just that My Hero leaves itself open for more negative like paths. Like I don't think My Hero has a tendency of doing dumb shit. It has a tendency of setting up things that are just ambiguous enough to where they could hint at dumb shit happening. Whereas
Yes.
Jujutsu Kaisen's setup is very much just okay, so it could be fantastic in this way or it could be fantastic in this other way. Choose what you want. And I'm over here, my I have knife and fork in my hand, have like an oversized napkin stuffed into my cleavage, and I'm just salivating.
Fucking
I'm just ready.
feasting, bro. I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Do we want to close off on Jujutsu Kaisen Zero?
Yes, let's finish the episode with it's only 4 chapters, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it is the prequel. Now, it was the pilot. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
short story that Akatami made that he sent in. It got 4 chapters, and then it is basically what got Jujutsu Kaisen greenlit, like as a series to be
Mm-hmm.
made. So it has retroactively become a prequel
Mm-hmm.
because it's all the same thing. It has Geto, it has Gojo, Yuta, who you probably have seen a lot of people talk about. If you don't know what this is and you don't know who Yuta is, he is the protagonist of this. It has Maki, Panda, Toge. Um, I believe it's 1 year before
Yes,
the current events. Yeah,
it takes place in 2017, and Jujutsu Kaisen takes place in 2018.
yeah. So, oh my god, it's really good. And reading it, I read it a long time ago. Like when I was first getting into Jujutsu Kaisen, people were like, "Oh, hey, there's also a prequel." So I was like, "All right, I'll read that." And the
Mm-hmm.
fan scan experience and the official scan experience are very different, but it was still good. And now
Mm-hmm.
reading it with this just the full scope of knowledge of Jujutsu Kaisen,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost better.
it's like the thing that gets me is the fact that if you wouldn't have told me that, or if I didn't know that this was written before Jujutsu Kaisen, I would have never like assumed that because not only does everything fit so well, but it also feels like it was written with Jujutsu Kaisen in mind. Like, you don't get any explanation really on Gojo or on any of the characters. It's literally just these people that you know from Jujutsu Kaisen doing cool shit, but Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't exist yet, and it's so weird. Like it almost makes me believe because Gege has said in the past that she had or they had no plans of writing Jujutsu Kaisen by the time they wrote Jujutsu Kaisen Zero when it was still called Tokyo Technical High School. And I have trouble believing that because it just fits yucky well.
I
Like,
know it's insane, and like the emotional hit of Gojo and Geto at the end,
mhm.
after everything we've been through in the main series, and after stuff like the Star Plasma Vessel story, just becomes stronger. Like,
Yeah. And
uh,
it has like its own mysteries. Like, for example, we don't know what Gojo's final words to Geto were. Like those are blacked out. Um, and we don't know what the relevance is of both Gojo and Yuta being descendants of Sugawara Michizane. Uh, and we don't know how, it's a minor thing, but we don't know how Miguel got roped into Jujutsu High after Geto was defeated. And yeah, it fits ridiculously well, and it just has, it looks very different from Jujutsu Kaisen. Like I would say, I like it a bit less in the art style than I do Jujutsu,
it
just
feels a
because,
little bit just like a more unrefined version of what we have
yeah,
now.
they have these weird giant bug eyes sometimes. Like especially Geto looks very weird in some panels because his eyes are like twice the size of what they should be.
Geto is the
Um,
character who probably is the most different.
mhm,
And I think it's because he got a little bit of a retroactive personality change in Jujutsu Kaisen proper.
mhm,
Because in the Star Plasma arc, he's not quite as giddy and like he's a little silly in this, um,
mhm,
which I don't think doesn't fit him, but it is just a little bit weird. Um, I don't know. I still like every character. I really like Yuta a lot.
mhm.
He's a really cool
Yes.
character. I like it. It almost expands a little bit on Toge. It's kind of the first time we get to see Toge win a fight,
Yeah.
which is great. I like everyone. Panda is actually really good in it. It's just like being a silly like homie.
Hmm.
It almost feels like a borderline slice of life expansion for a lot of characters that we already know that haven't gotten the chance to have that yet. Like the silly moments where Panda is teasing Maki and telling her that like, oh, Yuta might like you. You should go for that. And
Hmm.
and like Toge getting the cough medicine being like a big part of his fight is just like making sure he has his throat meds.
Yeah, yeah. And in general, I think Toge is such a cool character. Like the fact that, like, one thing that I caught this time that I didn't catch the first time I read it, is that when he like holds his hand up to Yuta the first time, Yuta is like scared. What is he gonna do? That was him just trying to give him the high five that he later gives him.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just Toge is such a cool and fun guy, and also Jujutsu Kaisen Volume Zero actually includes a sheet that translates his ingredient speech.
Yes, yes it does.
Yeah,
How to understand what he means when he says his ingredient things.
yeah. So salmon is yes, fish flakes is no. Everything else is
It
gibberish.
just means nothing. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
sound. Um, Gojo's really great in Zero. As someone who is a very major Gojo fanboy, I loved him in
Hmm.
this as well. The final
Hmm.
scene between him and Geto is extremely touching, especially with better translations, I guess I'll say.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's all really good stuff, man. It's all painfully good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, when Gojo says, "Oh, I got your license back," and Yuta's like, "Oh, from whom?" It's like, "Oh, my best friend, my one and only," and it's like,
Yeah,
mm.
it's like, damn, he just said that after we know that he killed Geto. because
Yeah.
it's left ambiguous. If you read this in release order,
Hmm.
you don't know that Gojo killed Geto until the brain reveal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So up until the reveal that there's someone else in that body, you just think it's Suguru Geto with a stitches because he got fucked up. And then it
Yeah.
turns
Like.
out that no, Gojo really did kill him right there.
Hmm.
After they have what can only be called a very friendly conversation.
Yeah, and I just like how somber Gojo is in this for like the last couple of pages. Although I will say, I do prefer his like his bandana over the bandages.
Yeah, I don't like the bandages. One is it just they look kind of funky, but also the white is weird with his hair. Like from a design
Yeah.
standpoint, when his hair stands up with all that white on the top of his head, it just looks funky compared to like the black bandana being a better cutoff.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm not huge on the bandages. I'm glad they went. That was something that Zero didn't carry over. There's a lot of
Yeah.
cool stuff in Zero though that does carry over, like Geto using the playful cloud.
Hmm.
Never really gets mentioned that it was his thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's the weapon that Maki uses when they fight Hanami, and then the weapon that
Hmm.
Toji eventually takes in Shibuya is Geto uses it
Hmm.
here, and it's how Jujutsu High and Maki even end up getting it to begin with.
Hmm.
Ah, man.
Yeah. It's just good stuff. It's tremendously good, and you know, you mentioned Yuta. I think Yuta, if he makes an appearance in the main series proper, and I assume he will, that'll be super interesting because he seems like he would get along with Yuji, but also he seemed, depending on what happened in the year of which we've not seen him, he might be a much he has the potential to become a much more level-headed, calculated person than he was now in Zero. Because like his final moment with Geto, where he's like, "This is love," he looks pretty intense there, and he
Yes.
seems pretty intense after that. So, yeah, I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me almost of Junpei, especially
Yeah.
early on, where he's kind of the bullied kid, and the spirit is what's protecting him from that and doing awful things, and he doesn't
Hmm.
know how to control it. Think of Jotaro in the prison cell, but more extreme.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when Gojo pulls up that destroyed up knife, and he's like, "Yeah, I
Hmm.
tried to kill myself because bad things keep happening around me, but it I couldn't. The knife got destroyed anyway. Rika ripped it apart, basically, twisted it all up so he couldn't do it." Um, but then you see like he goes from this bullied, scared kid to someone who's really protective, and then he kind of comes into his own as he makes friends with these other oddball characters that are definitely not normal people. Even Maki,
Hmm.
is like a teenage weapons master and all this like crazy stuff. He blossoms
Hmm.
into his own character, and it makes you think of what Junpei could have been had Mahito not happened to him.
Yeah. I mean, it also, now that you mention it, it also kind of seems to me like Yuta might have just been a prototype character for Junpei. Like it, now that you mention how similar they are, that's actually very much a possibility, considering, you know, Gege apparently did not have plans to write a bigger story around this. And so when they were writing Jujutsu Kaisen, they were like, what else can I take from the prequel? So yeah, definitely worth a read. It's only 4 chapters. Is the fourth chapter out on the app
Yeah,
yet?
it is. I don't know why it came out later. The first three dropped all at the same time, but four is out
Okay,
now.
that's weird, but okay.
I almost think it
Uh,
was a clerical mistake because all four went up on the website at the same time, but the
yeah.
app only got the first three, and then the fourth one came out like a few days later.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I saw someone say like, oh, they don't want to spoil what happens to Ghetto, but it's like
It's on the website, bro.
when, yeah, when has Shonen Jump ever cared about spoiling anime onlys? Because if they
Yeah,
cared about
they
that, why
don't.
even publish it, right?
Yeah. And
So,
then I saw one person say that they was actually a decent explanation that was like because it had more adult content in it than the other ones, It's restricted to the website because the app apparently doesn't upload some chapters that are like considered too adult.
Yes.
It's website only.
Yes.
But
Yes. If you consider the lesbian orgy in Chainsaw Man, that
yes,
chapter never went up on the app. And I remember, I think the problem is that the apps are subject to the age ratings of the App Store,
yeah,
and putting something like that would inevitably change the age rating, which would require the app to be relocated in the store, which would be bad for business.
right,
Which fair enough,
yeah.
fair enough.
It's not. I mean, you can use your same account on the website anyway. It just takes you an extra 20 seconds to get there than what you're used to anyway. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
But 4 did go up on the app. So those of you who are app only readers, you do have access to all 4.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely recommend reading it. I really love it. I like it more than a lot of JJK proper arcs, to be honest. A lot of that comes from hindsight. Like, I think I
Mm-hmm.
like it more reading it now than I did reading it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I read it. God, I can't even think of how far JJK was when I first started. I think it was pre. It might have been like the Bridge Brothers ish, maybe around chapter 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like late in the exchange arc, early Bridge Brothers, I think.
Yeah. Like I think because the thing is, I read the prequel before reading the main series because I just thought, oh, it's the prequel, let's read it. I read it, and then I read the main series until like I want to say the exchange event. Um, and at that point, I think the story had just started the Gojo flashback arc, and then I kind of let it sit again. And then once Shibuya started going, I think it was by the time that Gojo had already been sealed, so like a year ago. I was like, okay, let's read all of this properly. And I did, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since then, I've been here screaming about it every week with you.
Every single week. That's basically the
Yes.
tagline of our show.
Well, hey man, it's been a pleasure, and it's gonna continue being a pleasure, I'm sure.
It's what we do, man. We just scream about Jujutsu Kaisen, but
It's awesome.
can't think of anything I'd rather do on a Sunday evening than scream about peak fiction.
Exactly. Do we have anything else on Zero? Or
I don't think so. I just, read it. Even if like someone asked me on Twitter, I'm scared to read it because I think it will spoil stuff for me. It all was written prior to the original series existing. There is nothing
Mhm.
in it that's going to mess up reading the original series for you if you haven't done it yet.
Mhm.
If you haven't caught up with the manga yet, nothing about Zero is going to spoil that for you. Nor will being caught up make Zero any worse. Like, I
Exactly.
think my reading of it was greatly enhanced by knowing all of this stuff. Like, it hits so much harder after knowing all this stuff. So, no matter what your state with Jujutsu Kaisen is, unless you just hate it, which I don't think you're a real person if you do, you should read Zero. No
Mhm.
excuse not to. That's all I've got on it.
Yeah, like the only thing that Zero adds really is if you aren't caught up to the anime to the manga is it adds an additional mystery, which is ghetto. But that's it.
Pretty much. And it gives you
Yeah.
some insight to Yuta and why everyone on Twitter keeps thirsting after this man coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Bless you.
Thank you. I do feel very blessed right now. Um Yeah, I mean, if you don't have anything else on Zero, the last thing I want to mention, because I've been Googling a bit of Japanese history while we were talking here. And funnily enough, the first people to inhabit Japan were a people called Yayoi, which is the name of the sister of Yori in Phantom Seer.
Huh.
And I think that's pretty cool.
That is cool. Damn, Phantom Seer really good too.
Yeah, Phantom Seer is really
Manga's
good too.
good, bro.
Like,
Manga's really good. I'm just figuring this out now on the 14th
yeah,
episode of the show that we talk about exclusively manga.
yeah, manga good. Will the stock
Manga
market
good.
survive?
Yeah, that's the title of this
Manga good.
episode. Manga good.
Yeah, like manga is really good right now. Like I really don't agree anymore where people say, oh, Weekly Shonen Jump's in a pinch. Like, no,
No,
are you crazy?
you're nuts if you still think that.
Yeah,
I do still
like
see that on Twitter now and again too. It's like, oh, Chainsaw Man's gone, Jump is struggling. I'm like, are you fucking crazy?
yeah. Shibuya arc alone is making Jump right now better than it was in the last 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
Like easily.
I mean, I don't know how you can look at My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, even with just those two, and think
Mhm.
that Jump is like dying out.
Exactly.
And plus, like, they're
Like
not the only things in here that are good. Mashle,
Mhm.
Undead Unluck, Doctor Stone, fucking Phantom Seer. Like, I don't know how you can think that. Those aren't even all the ones I like. They're just the ones that I think are so good that I can bring them up without people being like, "Nah, this D-list series is meh." Like,
Mhm.
just it's so good. Everything out
Yeah.
right now is good. I'll even say that if people like Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin, then more power to them.
Look, all I'm saying is Jujutsu Kaisen sold 1.5 million copies last week.
Whew.
So, yeah.
Oh,
So much about
someone
dying.
brought it up that we didn't mention it, and they were kind of sad that we didn't mention it. So Mori King did end last week, not this week.
Oh, it
Officially,
did?
yeah, officially it ended. And then this week, so that we don't run into the same trap, Our Blood Oath was officially canceled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this is the final chapter of Our Blood Oath. I never really read it. I read chapter 1 only.
Mm-hmm.
It did not hook me at all, so I did not continue. But it is always sad to see a series canceled on chapter 18. That is the last one
Mm-hmm.
of Blood Oath, and then Mori King last week officially ended on chapter 35.
Okay, well, I guess that's too bad. I
Well,
hope
I
they
don't even know if
tried.
Mori King was canceled. It kind of feels like it just reached its inevitable conclusion. I don't think you can write a 300 chapter series about a man becoming a bug and entering a tournament to become king of the bugs. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes these things can be deceiving because didn't it wasn't it implied that Assassination Classroom ended before the author wanted it and the ending still feels completely earned and good?
you know, that's a good question. But I do
Because I
remember reading
remember,
something similar to that the author wasn't ready to end it yet. Um,
yeah, but like you wouldn't know it from just
no,
reading the
yeah,
story because the
Assassination
ending is
Classroom feels
perfect.
very complete. That's
Yeah,
true.
one of my favorite manga slash anime actually. I really love it.
Mine too. I absolutely love it. It's really good. That's why I had really high hopes for Elusive Samurai, and now I'm kind of worried. But it is what it is. At this point, I'm so
Some
jaded after Boruto and Samurai 8 and Build King and
Oh my God, is Bill King now in that same tier for you then?
oh, dude, Build King sucks. It's terrible.
I haven't even checked out the last like 3 chapters.
I haven't read it since the beginning of the very first chapter of the year. I haven't read it. It
Hmm.
sucks, bro. It's bad.
That's
I might read a couple
unfortunate.
more just to try because I really like Toriko, but dude, it's not good. It's not good.
Sometimes you just hit it off. You got lightning in a bottle, and then you just don't anymore.
Praying for Burn the Witch, Kubo, please.
Oh yeah, season 2 of that is happening.
Yeah, they're well, originally it was a just a 4 chapter like little one shot that he did, and then they wanted him to
Hmm.
they greenlit it as like a series. So it's gonna get
Hmm.
an anime and a manga, I think.
Yeah, I mean it got an anime movie, didn't it?
It did well,
That's
I think it
already
was
out.
a 2 episode thing? It was like 2 or
I
3
don't know it.
episodes. I don't think it was a single movie. It was split up. Unless
Okay.
Crunchyroll just split it up. I don't know. Maybe they just split it up into different things, but I
Okay.
think it's getting an
Okay.
official series now. That's not just like a second continuation of what we have. It's going to actually be an ongoing thing. Um,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
praying it doesn't suck.
Also, I suppose since I haven't actually formally said it yet, for those listening, I am reading Bleach. I don't know how far I'm into it, but I am like a good chunk into Soul
What's the
Society.
last thing that happened?
Ichigo is currently training to learn Bankai in 3 days.
You are almost done with the Soul Society arc.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because like I feel like I'm still missing a lot of the quintessential Bleach content. Like I haven't gone to Spain yet, or to, like the place where everyone's Spanish.
Hueco Mundo.
Hueco Mundo. Yeah,
Yeah, so one
I
thing
haven't
about
met the
Bleach,
guy.
personally I like this a lot about Bleach, but some people find it tacky or cheesy, is every like different faction is based off a different culture. So like Soul Reapers are Japanese,
Uh huh.
Hollows are Spanish, and
Uh
then
huh.
Quincy's are German.
Oh yeah, there was one chapter was called Der Freischütz, which is wrong. And I know that Kubo has a lot of fake German.
There's an exceptional amount of fake German in Bleach.
Yeah, which I will point out because you know what? I shat on Black Clover for doing it, and by God, I will shit on Bleach for doing it because it's not its fault. I just so happen to speak German, and I'm a mean boy. So
I respect it.
yeah, I mean, The thing is, it's always like really weird mistakes. Like the chapter in which Uryu like gets his like big power up. It's called Der Freischütz, which is based on a German legend of the marksman with the magic arrow or magic bullet, depending on which period the story was being told. And it's almost correct. You just need to add an E at the end and have it Der Freischütze. But Der Freischütz is just gibberish. And it's always weird to me because it's such a common mistake, specifically that word. Like, I don't know what it is about the Japanese or the Americans for that matter, because I mean, you guys have referenced it too in the past. Why that, like, the vowel at the end seems to be such a common thing to get wrong, but I mean, as long as no one's called Nacht or Licht, I'll be fine.
There's Note, N-O-D-T.
Note?
Mm-hmm.
N-O-D-T?
His name is A-S-N-O-D-T. As Note.
Okay, that's just a name. I don't think that's a word. Unless it's
Esunotu
misspelled.
is how you pronounce it in Japanese, apparently.
Esunotu. Yeah, no clue. Like, that does not sound like a German
Some
word.
of them are just named after... Some of the German ones are just named, like, white girl names, like Candace. Candace is one.
Okay, very much not a German name.
Bambina is one.
Not a German name.
Or is it Bambina or Bambiana? I don't remember. They're weird. Let me look up some other Quincy names because I'm just curious to see now that you speak German. There's Juhabak, it's just one. He's their leader.
Yeah, that means nothing.
That almost sounds. I think that's like Hebrew or something.
Yeah, that sounds very Jewish.
Yeah. Let's see. There is the Wandenreich. That's their group.
Okay, that sounds like something. Can you spell it out in chat for me?
W-A-N-D-E-N-R-E-I-C-H. Wandenreich.
Well, Reich is kingdom, like the Third Reich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wandern is nothing, but it almost sounds like wandern, which is wandering, as in like traveling. Does that make any sense for it?
Sort of. They they don't have like a central base of operate. They're like in hiding at first.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna start putting some other names into here.
Okay. Das Wandernreich. Yeah, that could be like Wandenreich. I can imagine. Jugram Haschwald. No, that's just a bunch of German-sounding syllables stuck together. That means nothing.
Okay.
Jugram Haschwald. Oh yeah, the Walf gives it away because th doesn't exist in German. Quincy Zeichen. That is correct. It just means Quincy signal or Quincy symbol.
It's the English translation of it, I believe, is the Quincy cross. It's a little thing that they wear.
Okay, I mean,
a 5-pointed cross that appears in various aspects of Quincy culture.
Okay, well, a cross is a symbol, so that makes sense. Like, ein Zeichen in German would just be any signal. Like, if I hold up the peace sign with my two fingers, that's a peace Zeichen.
Okay.
Blutvene, that's a blood vein.
Yep, it's a power they have where their veins fill with spirit energy and it makes their skin very durable.
Okay, kind of redundant because blood vein, like a vein is full of blood. Let's still. Oh god, that's last silence, but last is misspelled or has the wrong case. It should be letzte Stille instead of letzt still. But I can see the vision.
Okay.
Vollständig. Oh, that's a classic one. It's supposed to be vollständig, which means complete, but no one ever bothers with the German umlauts, which is, the A with the two dots,
okay,
which is pronounced
it does have it on there. I just don't know how to do it on my keyboard.
Oh, okay, so that's correct in that case. Vollständig.
Yeah, if you think it should have an umlaut, assume that it does, because all of them on here do. I just don't know how to type them. So.
Well, I mean, the international short form for umlaut is just the letter that would have the dots over it, followed by an E.
Ah, okay.
So like AE is the umlaut.
Okay, got it.
Internationally. Kirchenlied, Sankt Zwinger, church song, holy, holy dungeon or holy prison.
That works. It's a spell that traps you in place and then blows you up.
Okay, it's very funny though because Sankt is a very very old word for holy, but Zwinger is like a very colloquial word for prison.
Okay.
So it's like thy holy jail, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Seele Schneider. Wrong, but I see what they mean. It's
That is
supposed to
not
be
how they pronounce
Seelen.
it either.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Seelenschneider, which is just soul cutter.
Yeah, it's a lightsaber basically.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
I-
it shoots out spiritual energy and makes a sword out of it that you can use to fight.
Okay, well, I mean, spirit, soul, Seele. Yeah, okay, I can see the vision. I can see it. Bambietta Basta Biene. Okay, that means nothing, but the Basta Biene almost makes me believe it has something to do with bees. Because if
She
you,
blows shit up.
well, okay, then maybe I'm just wrong. Basta almost sounds like it comes from the English buster, because there's no German word like that. Robert Akutrone. No, that's just a name. That's that Lillebar. No, nothing. That's definitely not German. Basby.
His name is just Baz B.
That's very much not German.
Uh,
Driscoll Bassi, also not German. So it really is
uh,
like fake German because all of these are like German syllables stuck together in a very non-German way. Giselle Gewell. Giselle Gewell. That is like if you ask someone to make up a fake German name.
I think
That's what
that's
a
what a lot of
German
these
would.
are.
Yeah, Giselle is just a like old-fashioned German name. Gewelle means wave, as in like ocean waves.
Hmm.
Um, Berenice Gabriel, yeah, that's more Italian than anything actually. Shaz Domino, nothing you couldn't get out of the word domino anyways, so no German there. Like domino. Jerome Guisbat, although Guisbat is like a World War II-esque German name, which
Here's a good one.
oh, Mask de Mask. Does he wear a mask and is he
He,
very
he
masculine?
does. He's super ripped and he wears a mask.
Okay, Kubo. I see what you're doing. You're making some of these up.
Nope.
Royd Lloyd and Lloyd
And his
Lloyd.
brother Lloyd. Wait, this is a great one.
Oh no. This actually does have a German thing in it. So it's na Jakob. The naya is the German expression for oh well. You
Okay.
know, when something goes wrong or like something isn't so great, you're like, oh well, like naya. Askin nach leva, that's Dutch.
Okay.
That's Dutch. Double K and double A is always Dutch. Es not, that's also Dutch. DT. Quilge up, that's no language I speak. I do speak a few.
Oh god. Let me make sure I'm spelling this one right.
Well, if you misspell it, I'll just notice it. Pernida Pachnias. The first name definitely not, but the last name almost sounds like something you'd hear in like a Polish German family almost.
Okay.
But you know, Grémy Tourmeau, that's French. That's very French. Gérard Valkyrie, French or just Valkyrie, I guess. Pepe Wakabrada.
Wakabrada, I guess.
Wakabrada? Yeah, no, that's nothing I know. Neon Zol, White Zol, no clue. Zol is if it had an additional L, it would be the word for tax or like passage fee or toll, like toll
Okay.
booths. but I don't know. Schrift. Schrift literally just means writing.
Okay. So the Schrift is like their individual power.
Ah,
And
okay.
each one is a letter. And their letter stands for a word that means what their power does.
Okay, well, there you go. Schrift is literally just your writing, like your Handschrift is your handwriting. So that works. Sternritter. Oh, that's correct. That's oh my God, jumped into the German accent by accident. It happens when you're multilingual. The moment you say a word of one language, your brain swaps into that language. But Sternritter is a star knight.
Yep, that is what it says.
Mm-hmm. Or star, yeah, star rider. Schutz. No way.
Yep.
No. Okay. You do know what that is, right?
Well, this says it is German for protective echelon.
Oh no. Schutzstaffel is what the Nazis SS stood for.
Well, these are bad guys, so
Okay. Do they wear skulls as their
uh, I
insignia?
think so.
Oh God,
They're the bad
no.
guys. They literally want
That's
to kill everything.
that's terrible. That is like that is like borders on problematic, but okay. Like referencing Nazi stuff in any German speaking place will almost definitely land you with a fine or in jail. Like they take it very seriously
Well,
here
that's
to
fair,
not.
considering.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's always freedom of speech, but like no, no, no. You don't protect that freedom of speech
Yeah,
over
no.
here. Yeah. Jagdarmee, hunting army.
Yep.
Jagd, hunting, army. Soldat, soldier.
Okay.
Like I
Yep.
think that may I assume that's
That's
pretty
just like the
straightforward.
foot soldier guys. Yep.
Yeah, Soldat. Lichtreich, Kingdom of Light
Yep.
or Light Kingdom.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
That is exactly what they say. Okay. Oh God. Some of the spelling on this shit.
Welcome to German. Schattenbereich, shadow area,
That's
or
literally what the Viz translation does. They don't even say Schattenbad. I think they just say shadow area.
okay, well there you go.
Yeah. Uh,
Also, how would you pronounce it?
Schattenbereich? Bereich?
Oh, that's so cool. Like it's wrong, but it's cool.
All right. I'll take it.
Wahrwelt, world of truth or true world.
Yep, the official translation is the True World Castle.
There's no castle there, but sure. Like
Maybe
literally
he
not.
adds it in for fun. I don't know.
Maybe. But I don't know. The Japanese seem very fond of the German language for some reason. It keeps getting referenced and stuff.
And they have very Nazi-looking uniforms. I don't know that they are, but they sure give me the vibe.
Yeah, oh my God, like the Nazi uniforms are like a whole thing here in Europe because you know Hugo Boss,
I know the name.
the
Isn't that like a
yeah,
fashion designer?
it's a fashion designer. They're the ones that designed the Nazi uniforms back in
Oh,
the 40s. Yeah. And so and that's the problem because those uniforms actually look really cool, but you can't really say that unless you follow it up with but the Nazis were
but
bad, which like
but
yeah,
the
of
Nazis
course.
wore it. Yeah, okay, so I don't know that I couldn't tell you a Nazi uniform off the top of my head, but that's just the vibe I get from something like this.
Uh I mean, it's like it's a general like army
It's
uniform.
just the
Like I wouldn't
hat and like the way it's buttoned. Just it. I don't know. I get vibes.
Okay, the buttons maybe the most, but I wouldn't like it kind of looks like the officer uniform I have to wear sometimes for like official stuff.
Okay.
Um yeah, cuz to anyone who doesn't know, I am in the army by
Isn't
not by
everybody?
my choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody here is um yeah, I am a Soldat. Well, I'm a Gruppenführer, which is group leader. You have any others, or is that
I
it for
don't.
a
I
German lesson?
don't think so. I think we've gotten through all of their slang.
Okay, good. So in conclusion, Kubo tried, and I mean he
In
managed. Like,
conclusion, anime German is still not that good.
yeah, but I mean, like I wouldn't wouldn't expect it. Like if it unless it literally takes place in Germany, which Like one thing I appreciate about the Attack on Titan, like Japanese voice cast, is that because Attack on Titan takes place in fake Germany, pretty much, they do go through the effort of pronouncing names properly, which I think that's a cool gesture.
That
They
is
didn't
good.
have to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like the guy who's called Rainer, they don't say Rainer or Raineru, they say Rainer, which is exactly how we pronounce it in German.
Okay, so
Because in
how do you pronounce this again?
which one? If it's correct, you would say Seelenschneider.
Yeah, they don't say that.
Yeah, no.
They,
I mean,
I'm pretty sure he says Cell Schneider.
yeah, Cell Schneider.
Yeah, I think that's what
Well,
he says. Well, no
um,
R because it's Japanese, so he says Cell Schneider.
okay, because that's actually the Schneider would be exactly how we pronounce it in German. You say Schneider, which is actually the difference between High German and Swiss German, or a Swiss-speaking High German. A German-speaking High German would say Schneider. A Swiss-speaking High German, without checking their accent, would say Schneider. So
Interesting.
because we in Switzerland we talk from our throats, so everything is it's very hard on the throat.
Okay.
So for example, Seelenschneider in Swiss German would be Seelenschneider,
All right.
and it's still German. It's just a different dialect.
Fair enough. Well, there was your German lesson with Bleach, brought to you by Shonen and Chill.
Yeah, I'm sorry that went on for so long.
I encouraged it. It's okay. We're both culpable here.
Okay, good.
So I think that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for
Yeah,
tuning in and watching. I'm really excited for next week's episode because it's finally the end of Shibuya. We're gonna have so much to talk about.
yeah, that, and I'm also excited to see where My Hero goes, because it will be like the proper end of the war arc, because I'm assuming we're getting more consequences, which is my jam. So definitely excited for that.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Bye.